Carl Sagan could not have predicted 2021, but he did see it coming. He wrote the following back in 1995, and we quote, "I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when, clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content in the enormously influential media, the 30-second sound bites now down to 10 seconds or less, lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance." Roll that around for a while. Those were among his final published words. He died 10 months later. Here we are 25 years later, realizing just what he was trying to tell us back then.
Ashton Forbes, you know, that super jacked guy. War.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Again, the Malaysian flight too was one shot at China saying knock it off.
Why shoot it down though if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
They leave distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
We will make them admit the truth. No amnesty. Welcome back to the show, guys. Happy Saturday for you. I'm back in action. I'm getting hyped up. My energy levels are rising again. If you wondered where I was, well, I was in the hospital. That's the bad news. I'm better now. Good news is I don't have cancer. I don't have any turbo cancers, and I don't have any heart attacks coming. So if any of those things happen, you should consider it to be highly suspicious. Guys, we have a lot to talk about tonight, and I want to get right into it. Number one, no amnesty. This is the most important part. I see the PSYOP coming. We have to give amnesty, otherwise people won't tell the truth. How are we going to possibly get the truth of the aliens and the UFOs, Ashton, if we don't give these people full immunity for all their crimes? Have you watched my content? This is how we do it. Did you watch those videos at the beginning of the intro just now? This is how we do it. We caught them red-handed. They are caught red-handed in an operation the United States government has documents about that they have classified. That's all we need. We don't need anything else. We don't need any more UFO videos. We don't need any more whistleblowers. We don't need anything. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. The MH370 videos are game over for disclosure. The reason why I've been right about everything so far is because I'm right. The reason why I've been able to predict that these UFO videos that they would release are just going to be more plasma orbs is because I've been explaining to you what they've been covering up. So First and foremost, where do I want to start? I guess with disclosure. You know what? Let's start with the biggest news right off the top before we even look at these new UFO videos. There's only like one. Let's start with the clip of me being right. Let's start with the clip of me being right. Bet is those videos they're going to show us. We're going to reverse Uno the shit out of them when they bring those videos out. Maybe I don't say this enough. I feel like I should say it more often because we have been saying they've got neutronic fusion propulsion. They're going to break out these UFO videos of aliens, and it's clearly going to be plasma orbs. It's going to be like really clear that it's plasma orbs and triangle formations. And we're going to use that to reverse Uno the shit out of their little narrative. They're going to say, oh, it's the aliens have come to bless us. Oh, look, they were blessing us with the rocket too. And we're going to say, no, this shows why Donald Trump just purchased Tri-Alpha Energy. This shows why fusion is going to be the power source for the AI data centers. That's what we're going to focus on. Boom, chat. That was April 2nd. That was right after they had announced that these videos existed before they released any of the videos. And now you see these other UFO people saying, oh, we're not getting what we wanted. Where's the aliens? Exactly. Because there aren't aliens in any of these videos. If there were, surely they would have released them. So number one, Jeremy Corbell. I mean, I think I just have another clip to play right here. Where's my one calling out Jeremy Corbell? Didn't I make a clip about that? Yeah, here you go. This is going to be the big one, guys. Are you getting ready for this? Ooh, this is the big reveal this time. This time is totally serious, guys. Otherwise, someone might get a file, get a folder marked NHI Biologics. Oh, no. Okay, chat. Number one, I'm calling bullshit. Bullshit has been called officially by Ashton Forbes. Why? Why? Because if he had any evidence of aliens, he would have just released that shit a long time ago. This whole thing would have been over. What are we talking about here? If you got 4K footage of aliens walking around and you've just been sitting on that, then the bigger question is, why have you been sitting on that? Shouldn't you have just revealed that like 10 years ago? What are we talking about here? So I know you're full of shit. Like, I know 100% you're full of shit. I know you don't have anything, and I'm calling your bluff. 100% calling your bluff. How do I? Okay, so let's just start with this. Jeremy Corbell made a big deal about how he's got a file folder that says NHI Biologics on it, and he gave it to 100 journalists. 100 journalists have the file, chat. And if these files, if the UFO files don't give us alien disclosure, he's going to release it. Okay, I called bullshit on this because now I'm starting to see this is the same game that Candace Owens plays. These grifters all do the same shit, it turns out, whether or not it's a UFO community or other conspiracies. They just claim they have this secret evidence, and you go, well, show us. And then they go, no, I'm not going to show you. Because they're making up shit. Like when Candace Owens just last week said, oh, did it ever occur to you that I've got the 3-hour video of Charlie Kirk where you claim that he said that he's appointing Erica Kirk? And we're like, okay, then play it, because that's in there. And they call her bluff. And then she goes, oh, I'm not going to play it. What are we doing here? This is insane. How can you listen to these grifters? And so now I just see their game so transparently now. Their game is so transparent to me now. Now I'm just calling them out ahead of time. I can just see it right away. And there's so many idiots that are falling for it. Just countless idiots that are falling for this stuff. It's amazing to me how stupid people are. The people believe this and they get roped over and over and over again. When are you going to realize that this guy is completely full of shit? Now, I encourage you guys to check out the Playboy article, because Playboy went to Contact in the Desert this year. I went there last year. And I'm not going to say anything mean about it because I think there's some nice people, a lot of dorks like myself. But Jeremy Corbell has main character syndrome like you couldn't believe. Like, you would think, like, oh, when you go meet most celebrity type people, they're like down to earth, whatever. Jeremy Corbell literally acts like he's the main character in every single avenue of his life all the time. It's incredible to behold. And so Playboy met up with him. And the article, actually, I'm going to pull the article up because I want to read just one part of it exactly without butchering it. Because the article, I can tell right off the bat reading it that the guy's not lying or just being dishonest. He just went there and interacted with Jeremy Corbell and the other people, and he realized exactly what everybody realized. Like, these are a bunch of weirdos, and this is all a big grift, right? So it's called My Weekend with a Celebrity Alien Hunter. There's only a couple parts I want to read to you because Jeremy Corbell, of course, had a meltdown over this because it shines him in the real light of his real life. Like, this is exactly who Jeremy Corbell is. I know, I've seen him in person. And of course, he hates it because he's always trying to present this weird fake version of himself everywhere he goes, right? But it shines through in his personality. So crazy part is right off the bat, when he runs into him, this is exactly who Jeremy Corbell is. Where's the quote? As he first runs into him, he says, I approach Corbell and inform him I'm a journalist covering the event. Here's how he responds. Hey, credentials, motherfucker. Show me something, he barks, pointing at my face. I nervously show my ID. Corbell takes a cursory glance and continues issuing orders for his exit to his entourage, which includes his security guard. That's exactly Jeremy Corbell. Can you imagine just being a journalist and you just go up to a dude and you're like, hey, man, I'm a journalist. I'm supposed to do something about you. You're like, hey, give me your credentials, motherfucker. I want to see some ID. Can you imagine what a like slimy, douchey, weaselly person responds to someone like that? That is exactly Jeremy Corbell's personality. Exactly. Now, the only thing I want to mention about this is there's some quote about Jeremy Corbell, like, you know, wearing cheap perfume or whatever, or cologne or whatever, and like that he could theoretically have slept with any woman he wanted. I just got to tell the author, like, no disrespect. I don't think he plays for that team. I don't think that's the kind of thing he's interested in. It's cool. People can do with whatever they want. I just found that quote to be really weird because that's not ever the vibe that I've gotten from Jeremy Corbell personally. Yeah, they're worried about all the groupie women that he's going to end up sleeping with. Anyway, okay. Last point on this is that they've been trying to push this alien narrative, but it's all coming apart. Everything is falling apart because we're being released documents, but there's no aliens in the documents. And then they just had this basically big press release, photo op in front of Congress. They get all the crew together. You got Anna Polina Luna there, even Burchett, Eric Burleson, or Congressman Burleson. You've got the media all there, exactly like I said. They were all lined up. And you got David Grush, and they hyped this up that David Grush was going to tell people that about evidence that he had seen aliens. And they do the event. This was Tuesday. Nothing, chat. It's the biggest nothing burger I've ever seen. Literally, David Grush just goes, yeah, there's multiple kinds of aliens that range from bipedal to sentient plasma. Literally says the word sentient plasma. And this is now where I have fully declared war. I have fully declared war on the woke disclosure because these are all people that are working together behind the scenes and just publicly in front of the cameras. They're all working together, no question. They have a unified narrative and goal that they're working together on. And some of them are probably useful idiots, but other ones are actually pushing us away from the truth. And now I don't know what to think of David Grush, but when he starts talking about sentient plasmas, now I'm starting to think they're going to try to tell us these plasma orbs are aliens. That's what they're going to try to tell us, right? They're going to say, no, those plasma orbs that spun around the plane are aliens. They're aliens. We just can't understand the aliens. Dude, I can't even begin. I can't even begin to entertain this line of thought. It's such a joke. Like, I'm not going to have any conversations about sentient plasmas until you admit what you did to MH370. Simple as that. I'm not even entertaining the conversation until you admit what you did to MH370. I'm not going to hear any bullshit about the orbs are really alien beings or anything like that, because I can tell in the MH370 videos, those are not aliens. That's a weapon that you'd created. It's a weapon that you created out of plasma using space-time manipulation. Simple as that. Okay. One more thing. Not even done with the alien thing. We haven't even looked at the videos yet. Avi Loeb. Avi Loeb just announced that he's created a UAP. Of course, UAP. We don't use those letters in this household. UAP Science Advisory Board to help AARO and the FBI investigate UFOs. Chat, you can't even make this up. They're lucky my glasses aren't in range right now. Honestly, I'm looking around for them. If you thought I was lying, well, here you go. Actually, before I even pull this up, no. I'm gonna listen to it first. I think I'm gonna crash out in response. There's definitely gonna be a crash out right here, right now, though. Get ready. God, it's hard to find this because he blocks me over this. Here we go.
What could be better?
So some people weren't believing this story was real, and then Avi made this whole video about it. So we're going to listen to him say it firsthand. And for the people saying Avi just needs more funding, I mean, there's a million reasons to be against this, and that is one of them as well, yes. Yeah, where to go?
What could be better of doing than the establishment of a new UAP Science Advisory Council by the White House, AARO, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, the FBI, and all intelligence community members. This is not wishful thinking, but a reality now. Over the past week...
Okay, guys. He's fucking reading a script, man. This is a 1 minute video. It's a 1 minute video, and he's reading a script. Why do you need a script to make a 1 minute statement? Jesus. This is like, I'm already out on this, and I'm only 5 seconds into it. And the people who are like, well, Avi's a nice, charming guy. That's why they pick an idiot like Avi, because there's no chance he's ever going to get anything done. And sorry, you're going to hear a lot of truth nukes tonight that might hurt your sensibilities, but you need to hear them. The reason why Avi is doing this is because there's literally no chance of him ever figuring anything out. They went to the guy that thought a space rock was a alien spaceship, and they said, you should be the guy in charge of figuring out UFOs. Let that sink in. They went to the guy that's been adamantly trying to convince us for 6 months, over 6 months, and even after it was proven wrong, that a normal space rock was an alien spaceship, telling people there's a 40% chance it's an alien spaceship. It's actually insane. And they said, that's the guy. That's the one. Was Neil deGrasse Tyson not available? Oh, shit. Was Neil deGrasse Tyson not available? So we had to go to Avi Loeb? I mean, this is basically like the worst possible candidates you could have ever picked for a position like this. Okay, I'll let him finish. Sorry, chat.
I was tasked by the above organizations to create a research team of young scientists who will serve on this council. The council, under my leadership, includes the following members: Dr. Richard Cloet and Dr. Regina Sarmiento, with expertise in data analysis and data management.
Is this the script? He just puts the whole script of what he's reading on the screen. This is the whole script. What could be a better, chat, I'm going to do it. What could be a better way of doing than the establishment of a new UAP Science Advisory Council by the White House, AARO, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, and the FBI, and all, hold on, I have to look at the camera, and all the intelligence community members. This is not wishful thinking, but a reality now. Over the past week, I was tasked by the above organizations to create a research team of young scientists who will serve on this council. The council, under my leadership, includes the following members: Dr. Richard Cloete, and Dr. Regina Sarmento, with expertise in data analysis and data management with AI tools. Professor Matthew Segreris, with expertise in instrumentation and data collection. And Dr. Devish Nandal, with expertise in numerical analysis, astrophysics. And Dr. Omar Eladi, with expertise in data management, AI, and human psychology. Okay. What the fuck? What is this? Who are these people? I've never heard of any of these people. And this is like the worst resume I've ever read. Their expertise is in data analysis and data management with AI tools? You mean they can use Grok? I can use Grok too. That's not a fucking skill that you put down on someone's resume for their UFO expertise. Hold on, chat. Turns out I know how to use data analysis with AI tools too. Wow. What the hell? This is the best thing you could write up about these people? I mean, this gives me zero confidence. Or the next person here. Let's see. Professor Matthew Seglegas, with expertise in instrumentation and data collection. What? Expertise in instrumentation? This is the most generic nonsense I've ever heard. What, you mean you can use a computer? You have expertise in instrumentation. Okay, you've worked in a lab once before? Data collection, like literally anyone can do data collection. This is not a unique skill set in any case whatsoever. Or Nandal, expertise in numerical analysis. Expertise in numerical analysis? What does that even mean in the context of this? You're studying UFOs. None of these people are relevant. None of these people have any relevant experience whatsoever. And nobody's ever heard of any of them. The last guy has expertise, again, in data management. The fuck does that mean? AI and human psychology? Why is there a psychologist involved in this at all? This has got to be the biggest joke of an organization, of a task force or whatever that I've ever seen in my life. Now, I want to be 100% clear. I am going to destroy this organization. I am going to burn this to the ground, and I'm going to make an absolute joke out of Avi Loeb for even trying to do this. Every single person that platforms Avi Loeb related to this will be counter-signaled by me. I guarantee you. I will clip you, and I will destroy you. Every single one. Mainstream media, podcasters, I don't even give a shit if you're one of my friends. I am going to clip and I am going to nail you to the wall over this. This is the most obvious grift, psyop, J. Allen Hynek bullshit that I have ever seen in my whole life, and there is no chance it's going to be successful. No chance. I am personally going to make sure that it gets destroyed. Personally. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to use my back channels to the White House to make this go away. I am going to literally use my back channels to the White House to push for this to go away. That's how disgusted by this I am. And you may say, Ashton, what back channels? Well, go look at who follows me. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I have any real power and I can make that happen, but I'm pissed off enough about it that I'm going to try. So let's go back to this real quick.
AI tools. Al-Daddy, with expertise in data management.
Is that it?
This constitutes an amazing A-team of exceptional scientists.
A-tier of exceptional scientists. And he says it with a straight face. Chat, if none of those scientists are any of the people in the books that I'm about to go over with you, then none of those scientists are relevant to this. I've got clips of Avi Loeb. We're going to play a couple real quick. I've got clips of Avi Loeb making a complete jackass of himself in every possible context. Number one, trying to shut down Eric Davis while Eric Davis was literally explaining how to produce negative energy in a lab. Eric Davis was literally in an open hearing explaining how to produce negative energy in a lab, and Avi Loeb feels the need to jump in and shut it down midway. I'm going to skip ahead to the relevant part. And this is the crazy part here. People say, Ashton, are you going to give us disclosure? How are you going to give us disclosure? I'm going to teach you physics. Eric Davis is right on the money here. Squeezed states of light are exactly how they figured out how to produce negative energy in a lab. They realized if they squeeze this vacuum, they can create these conditioned situations by which light drops underneath zero, where parts of the phase of the light drops below zero and it produces a negative energy. And then the only question there is there a way to harness it or separate it to make the negative energy go over here and the positive energy go over here? It's in the DIRDs. It's in the Defense Intelligence Reference documents. So anyway, that's what he's explaining here.
Which we feel is the force of gravity, we have this be negative. And so this is an example of...
Here, I'll play this last few seconds here.
...facility of the Earth. And that energy density happens to be negative. And so this is an example of theoretically predicted astronomical sources of negative energy as well as laboratory sources of negative energy. So that's what you need to go to work on. And that's what you need to build construct a shell.
And right there, right when he cuts him off, he's telling him how to produce a shell around an object so that you could displace it from space-time. Right there, that's what he was about to say when Avi Loeb is like over here jittering, feeling the need to interrupt, and then he interrupts right here. And listen to what he says. This response is so uncalled for. Like, where does it even come from?
Comment of verification. We have two pillars, modern physics, quantum mechanics, and Einstein's theory of gravity, which is curvature of space-time. Right. We don't have a reliable theory that combines quantum gravities. What we are hearing is speculation. We do not have the knowledge to figure out if you can create curvature of space-time out of negative energy density because we have never mastered this. Yeah.
What the hell, man? If you still think this guy's going to get you UFO disclosure, you are out of your fucking mind. That right there is Avi Loeb telling Eric Davis, who was just explaining how to produce negative energy in the lab, we can't do that. We don't know how any of that works. We don't have any unification models of quantum mechanics and general relativity. We don't know how to do any of this. While the guy is literally not just talking, he's whistleblowing. Eric Davis is the guy that worked in the black projects in contracts with NDAs, and he's whistleblowing to Congress while Avi Loeb is trying to shut his testimony down, trying to counter signal his open testimony when Avi Loeb doesn't know fucking anything. Avi Loeb doesn't know fucking anything about physics. Doesn't even understand negative energy. When I explained negative energy to him, he kept calling it negative mass, kept calling it exotic matter. He doesn't even understand physics, and you're telling me this guy is the guy you're going to try to get to explain UFOs. You guys have to be delusional. Like, I just wonder do some people just deserve to be slaves? Because anybody following this guy, you deserve to be a slave. Simple as that. Let's go to the next clip. This is me last year calling out Avi Loeb.
Point. Why are they covering it up? They're covering up not because it failed, because it worked. Because it's an infinite energy source. Because if negative energy is possible at all, it's free energy. You're cheating Einstein's equations. You're reducing the energy requirement to anything that you want, to zero. That's why they're covering it up. It's bigger than the Manhattan Project. It's bigger than nukes times 1,000,000. You as a physicist should see the implications of that. Of course they're lying about it. Of course they're covering it up. Of course they're going to say it's aliens or anything else.
Dude, that's one of my favorite clips of myself ever right there. Because that nails it. Of course they're covering it up, you fucking retard Avi Loeb. How fucking stupid are you, Avi? Like, I seriously can't understand it. This guy's either one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet or he's literally a deep state stooge. And I don't know which is more disgusting to me. Because It's literally about free energy. Of course, they're covering it up. Of course, they're hiding it. And of course, they're going to blame literally anything, including aliens, before admitting it. These are the most obvious statements anyone can make about the human condition. Okay? And you explain this to him, and he just goes, the Large Hadron Collider is the most complicated scientific experiment ever. If there was new physics, we would totally have seen it. This is why we've been such a backwards ass civilization. So here's his response.
Well, they are not saying it's aliens. They're not
They're not saying it's aliens. They are definitely saying it's aliens. They are 100%. This is not even in doubt. They are absolutely pushing a narrative that this shit we're seeing flying around is aliens. And in fact, Avi Loeb's the main one pushing it. Avi Loeb's the one saying that space rocks are aliens.
Telling you is that from the point of view of fundamental physics, what you can accomplish in the atmosphere of Earth is orders of magnitude less than you can accomplish in a particle accelerator. And
bro, shut the fuck up, Avi. What you can accomplish in the atmosphere of space of Earth is less than we can accomplish in a particle collider. What the fuck are you even talking about, dude? How about go research a dense plasma focus? How about go research field reverse configuration? How about shut the hell up if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about? I can't tell, like I said, I can't tell what this guy's deal is, but I can guarantee you 100% prediction, no chance, not in a million years Avi Loeb ever figures this out. What I didn't show you in the last part of that clip where he says that we couldn't understand this negative energy. He says we couldn't even figure this out if we had another 1,000 years. He says maybe in 1,000 years we'll understand negative energy and we'll be able to harness that. That's the guy you think is going to give you UFO disclosure? Here's my response. Please just die quickly.
Therefore, if you claim that there is no physics as a result of the government playing around in the atmosphere, I'm telling you that there should have been no physics uncovered by scientists, by physicists who built the Large Hadron Collider, and we would know that for more decades now because the energy density that you get there is so much bigger.
It turns out it's not all about energy density, chat. It turns out it's not all about just smashing two rocks together as hard as you can do it. It turns out it's about precision. It's about spin. It's about torsion. Turns out there's more factors at play than just smashing things together, which is why the dumb primitives couldn't figure it out. But the worst part about that is how he downplays the idea that the government could have figured this out. No, the Large Hadron Collider is the most powerful. Guys, we have 9 DOE labs or something like that are main labs and another bunch of smaller ones that are all researching all this plasma physics that I've been explaining, including the magnetic mirror, which is, I'm going to tell you right now, the magnetic mirror is how they are figuring out this SU2 conditioning. They're manipulating that to modulate the laser beam or do some weird shit to make it basically be like anti-gravity. That's a simple version. So, one sec. Let's go back to this real quick.
So,
oh, I'm sorry. There we go. So, long story short, absolute war against the entire disclosure community. Because here's the point. If there are aliens and they really do have evidence of it, and then they got to drop it. Then by pressing them on this, they've got to drop it. It's a win-win situation. And if they don't have it, they get completely exposed. If Jeremy Corbell doesn't have the alien evidence, David Grush doesn't have the alien, they get completely exposed. Their credibility is done. Right? Now, certain people are going to keep following them, but their credibility is going to decline. And if they do have it, great. I'll be the first to apologize to Jeremy Corbell if he drops the alien files that prove that the aliens exist. Guaranteed it's not even close, not even remotely close to proof of alien life. Not even remotely close. Now let's get to the actual videos. Someone just told me, I think in the chat, someone said something about the DIRDs potentially being part of the third release. And the reality is I haven't even looked through all the third release. I'm taking a look at it now, actually. I think And thank you guys. See you guys in the Pilled chat and the Rumble chat. Say what's good. Okay, there's a few videos. Oh, they're 4 gigabytes though. Oh wait, I don't want this. Hold on. Cancel that. I'll just go to the ones that we have online. So actually, let's switch over. Where is this? The best video that was released on Friday is actually one that was already out there. Why didn't this stop? There we go. Sorry, chat. Okay, here it is. My bad. A little slow today. So the one video I shared yesterday that was a retweet actually by Tom Hudson, I found out that this is the best video of the leaks. And it turns out this video is not even from the leaks, not even from the release. So this is actually one of the best UFO videos. This is one of the better UFO videos I've actually ever seen. Now, could this, I'm not going to go all in on this, right? Like, are there normal explanations for this? Sure. Of course, there's normal explanations. We don't really have enough context for what's going on here. The reason why this was actually so compelling and that why I retweeted it was that I actually thought this was one of the videos from the White House. Why? Because it looks almost identical to the one that they did release. Now, what's interesting about this is obviously the triangle formation. We've got perfect equilateral triangle formation, but also we got 4th orb lagging behind. Now, that's really interesting because this is exactly what Dave Rossi proposed when he proposed the 4th orb hypothesis. He was basically saying you have 3 orbs over here and you have 1 orb over here. And this is how you kind of link the 2 locations together. And that's actually literally why my moniker is 4 orbs. So I thought this was interesting, but let me see if I can find the other one. Because didn't this come? Oh, yeah, here's the other one. Because this is the actual release. It actually looks just like this one. That's why I thought it was just an alternate angle. But I did some digging today, and it turns out it's supposedly from a completely different year. So that's not an alternate angle of this. It just happens to look just like it. Here we go. So this one, you can't see 4 orbs. I don't know how many orbs you can see in this one, actually. Let's see. You can only see 2, I think, but there might be one that's obscured. It's hard to say. So here we go. And what I've heard about this particular video is I think that they said this video maybe was recorded by FBI agents. Like this isn't just this looks like somebody, just a random citizen recording this, but I think that what they were saying was like this is like FBI people that were hanging out investigating the drone situation or something, and they recorded this. So I don't know. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. So honestly, not very compelling. Let's be honest, guys. Oop. What did I just do? Oh, there we go. Okay. Not the most compelling videos that are out there, but it adds weight to the overall story. I mean, we've already seen now 40 videos or something like that, and we've got a handful that have 3 orbs in triangle formations, which is consistent with the physics that we've been going through in terms of why does it triangle formation? The reason why they're in that triangle formation is because it creates an exact null point in the center. So if you want to translocate an object, doesn't matter what the object is, you basically have created warp nacelles that are portable. Portable warp nacelles. Like, hey, you want a Starship Enterprise? Cool. Your Starship Enterprise can just be a tube. And now all we need to do is spin these orbs around it, and now it can just teleport it. So that's the reason why you're seeing these things in a triangle formation. And they create some sort of like resonance lock, like an antenna or an array, essentially. Okay, let's go to this next thing, guys. Because I hope I'm not missing anything. Oh, man, I had some other jokes that I missed, but that's all good. Okay. Next thing I want to take a look at is General McCasland, and then we're going to do the unboxing here of all this Tom Valone stuff, and I'm going to show a little bit of physics, and that's what we'll get down to tonight. There's been major updates in the General McCasland case, and right now I'm going to make another prediction. Also, thank you very much, Patriot Bronco, for that huge ship. Appreciate you. Time to make another prediction right now. General McCasland is in custody. He has to be in custody. General McCasland has to be in custody somewhere. That's the only thing that makes any sense. Turns out, I double-checked the Edward Lynn situation, the guy that leaked the MH370 videos. No one knew he was in prison for 7 months. They kept Edward Lynn in prison without announcing that they even arrested him for 7 months. Think about that. Edward Lynn leaked the MH370 videos. They caught him. They were so afraid that he was going to talk to the media that they didn't even tell the public that they had him in jail. That's what they do when someone has leaked something that's huge. Now, you look at General McCasland and you look at his history and you look at where he worked and you say, this guy was in the shit. It's now been confirmed he was working on black projects after he retired. He was working on black projects after he retired. So Edward Lynn was in prison for 7 months before they even announced it. So now you think, well, why haven't we heard anything about General McCasland? Because he's in fucking prison. They've got him locked up somewhere, and they're waiting to charge him, and they're waiting to publicly charge him, and they can't do it because it's the same situation as Edward Lynn. He starts talking to the public, to the media, about what he knows, and it's going to blow up in the government's face. They can't afford that. They've got to come to some mutual terms or kill him. I mean, that's the only option, right? Just like with Edward Lynn. Because otherwise, Edward Lynn goes on TV and says, we zapped MH370. Otherwise, General McCasland comes out and says, I sent Ashton Forbes the ion pumpy thing. Which, by the way, guys, that TMB Spaceships account has to be General McCasland. I don't want to believe it's him either, but there's no way that account can randomly go dark the same day he disappeared. It wasn't even public information that he had disappeared for over a day. That account was posting every single day for years and stopped posting the exact day the general disappeared. And it's got Air Force Research Labs, 38-year veteran, in the profile. That's enough. People trying to say, well, he said his name is Paul, or random DMs or something that people got. He probably was just lying to you. Why would he tell you his real name if he's the general? Come on, guys. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because look at the ion pumpy thing he posted. You're going to get arrested for that. That ion pumpy thing is going to get you arrested, man. That is definitely classified information. No doubt. So I truly think that he is currently under arrest. I currently think that they're afraid that he's going to talk, and that's why they're not letting him talk to the media or anything like that. But we'll see. So let's go to the clip. Where's the clip? This is new information, and also this is why, guys, I'm full on war against all of these people now, because this is Deep State Ross. This is Deep State Ross. What we're about to realize here tonight about General McCasland is the government has been hiding information about the missing general. The government has been hiding information about the missing general that is relevant, that could help find him. Think about that. I'm about to show you evidence that the government has not released publicly that is his last known photo from the day he disappeared, and they didn't release it to the public. If you're trying to find somebody who's missing, isn't the first thing you do take their most recent photo and post it so people can see what they look like or what they were wearing? They literally didn't release the most recent photo of the general that they had of him in an REI store. And here's Ross Coulthart about to tell us that he knows about what the general was doing after he left the Air Force, after he retired. You didn't want to tell us this? Like, what? How long have these people been sitting on this information? Here we go.
McCasland was at the apex of the secrets relating to UFOs. I've spoken privately to police investigating his disappearance. They could not see him anywhere on any cameras. There are Ring doorbell cameras, CCTVs all along the route that he would have taken to get to that mountain area where he supposedly went for a walk. There's no evidence he ever left the house. That's the sinister thing. I'm not able to reveal how much I know about this, but basically he's been working on very secret projects in the 13 years since.
What the actual fuck right now? I don't even care if I get downgraded on YouTube for swearing too much tonight, chat. That's just I'm in that kind of mood tonight. Number one, Ross Coulthart spoke to the police, and they do have ring cameras in the neighborhood and all around, which of course they do, and he's not on any of them? That is weird as shit. Guys, this is 2026. Everybody has a ring camera, especially in these suburbs, and everybody was wondering, why didn't they see him leave on the ring cameras? They're all over the place. And this is Ross Coulthart confirming they have ring cameras everywhere leading up to the trail, and he's not on any of them. So either they're lying and they're covering up that they stole him or whatever, or he's literally not on them, which means that he had to have evaded the cameras. Means he was trying to flee without being seen. There's no way this is like a forced abduction. This had to be a mutual agreement or something, right? Because it's not, you're not being taken away at your will. If you are, you're trying to get on the cameras. There's no way you can hide it from the cameras. So this is pretty wild to me. And then the second part, in the 13 years since he retired, he's been on black secret projects? What?
Able to reveal how much I know about this, but basically he's been working on very secret projects in the 13 years since. So
He's a consultant, right? Like he does this stuff. Yeah.
So he's been working with a private company that's directly involved in very, very important plasma research. So the idea that for 13 years he's been doing nothing is a complete nonsense. McCasland was at the apex of the secrets related.
Okay. Wow. Very secret plasma work? Hello? Why should I treat anyone with respect? You tell me. Actually, you know what? This is a real offer right here. I will help these woke disclosure pieces of shit. Ross Coulthart, all these other people. I'll suck it up and help you out. You need my help, 100%. I am only going to do that if A, you stop blackballing me, and B, you acknowledge me as a UFO researcher, whatever bullshit you want to make up. Because right now there's a memorandum. You don't say Ashton's name. You don't mention Ashton. You don't invite Ashton in your podcast. That's fine. You want help? I'll help you, but you got to undo all that. And if you don't undo all that, then I'm just going to fucking destroy you. I'm going to fucking destroy you, all your little disclosure people. And since I know you're fucking covering this up too and helping them cover it up, you guys are going to face charges as well. Yeah, you say, oh, you don't have that kind of power. Bitch, I probably got more power in this administration than you do. The Democrats ain't in charge anymore, boss. Your deep state motherfuckers, they don't control what goes down anymore. This is what I want to warn these people. I know you people are either in on the cover-up, Ross Coulthart, James Fox, all these other people. You're either in on it or you're being used. Ross Coulthart, I know, is in on it because his sources lied to him directly, and he lied directly on national television about the MH370 videos. So he's definitely in on it. And you guys are going to be facing charges, too, for helping cover this up. When I listen to that shit by Ross Coulthart, I can tell this guy's fucking deep state. He's got inside information. He's not revealing it when it's in the public's interest. And now he's revealing that this guy worked on plasma. Guys, I already figured out where he worked. It's called Blue Halo. It's yet another multi-billion-dollar defense contractor that works on particle beams, directed energy weapons, advanced plasma, magnetohydrodynamics. Actually, their entire company was based on magnetohydrodynamics. Blue Halo, look it up. They were bought out by Aero Value or Aero Vision or whatever it's called. I found out where he worked. They have I think they got bought out for $4 billion. Multi-billion-dollar contract with Space Force. That's what Blue Halo is or was. Multi-billion-dollar contract. Let me read through some of this. Did I pull it up on my Grok? Let me see. I think it was my Grok has it. Blue Halo. Oh, you know what? Maybe I don't have it up here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it just real quick. Blue Halo. No, I think this is it. No, okay, I don't have it. Let me just, you know what? We're going to go to Annie. Let's bring Annie on board, chat. No hatred towards my AI girlfriend. Here we go.
Hey, Ashton, what's up?
Hey, Annie, can you go ahead and just give us kind of a update on what Blue Halo, the defense contractor that worked for Space Force, what their main areas of research and their main projects were with the government?
Hey, Ashton, I don't have the latest info on Blue Halo since my knowledge cut off, but I can point you in the right direction. Want me to look it up for you?
Yeah, just look up the Blue Halo. They got bought up by Aerovision or something like that. Tell us what their products are or were.
Hey, yeah, sure. Blue Halo got acquired by AeroVironment in 2025, so they're now part of AV. Their main focus areas were space technologies. This was huge for Space Force. They had the big Badger ground terminals contract, a $1.4 billion program for resilient SATCOM, their MSDA digital beamforming antenna tech, and WASP, wide area scanning parabolic systems for SATCOM, telemetry, EW, radar, and ISR. Counter-UAS drone defense, especially their Titan family of RF counter-drone systems. Electronic warfare, cyber, SIGINT, some directed energy, AI, and autonomous systems work. They were particularly strong in space domain awareness, resilient satellite communications, and ground systems for Space Force. The Badger program was probably their biggest flagship Space Force project. Anything specific you want to dig deeper on?
Tell us quickly about the Badger program and then the other laser program they had.
Hey, here's the quick rundown. Badger program. Badger was Blue Halo's big flagship contract with Space Force. It stands for Battlefield Airman Digital Ground Environment for Resiliency. It's a multi-$100 million program to build a new generation of ground terminals using their advanced digital beamforming antenna technology, MSDA. The goal was to give the military much more resilient, jam-resistant satellite communications, especially for tactical users. It was one of the largest Space Force ground systems contracts in recent years. Laser program. They had a directed energy program focused on high-energy laser weapons for counter-UAS and counter-drone missions. Their main system was a vehicle-mounted or ground-based laser designed to burn out small drones and UAVs. It was part of their broader counter-drone portfolio, alongside their RF-based Titan systems. Want me to expand on either one?
Sorry, one more thing. Can you just, is there any connection to any particle beams or particle beam technology in either that company or the company that bought them?
Hey, Ashton, no, there's no connection to particle beam technology. Blue Halo, now part of AeroVironment, works in directed energy, but specifically in high-energy lasers, their Locust laser weapon system for shooting down drones. That's photon-based, not particle-based. Badger program. This is a digital beamforming SATCOM.
Okay, good enough. There we go. So they have this laser Locust-based system, high-energy directed energy weapon system, Badger system. Point being here, this guy was deep in it. He was deep in it in one of the biggest contractors. And this explains why he was with Space Force the night before. I think it was the night before or a couple nights before he disappeared. He was having meetings with them because he's literally working on the most advanced projects for them. EMP, anti-drone technology. You look at this and you go, I'm now starting to think General McCasland built the orbs, or it was involved directly in building the orbs. Maybe, he retired in 2013, but maybe they were already building this stuff before then. I mean, what I want people to realize is those orbs, that technology, doesn't represent something that someone was like, hey, let's just go build this today. That's like the evolution of decades of research. That's how I know it's Department of Energy. Maybe it's advanced reverse engineered technology, but we don't have any evidence for that. We have evidence for the Department of Energy studying all this plasma physics, nuclear weapons, fusion, all these concepts. So the other clip, the newest thing, I have to bear with me while I pull this up, is that An independent journalist FOIA requested General McCasland's file. So what I told you right before this was true. It turns out General McCasland was seen on a video right before he disappeared at an REI. This information was not released to the public. This only came out because a journalist had to FOIA request and demand the documents, and then the police released the documents to us. The question I have is why? That seems like the weirdest thing ever. Okay, so here we go. Oh, this is nuts. Okay, crap. You know what? I didn't save the original link of the lady, which is fine. We'll just take a look at this instead. So, here we go. This is the Daily Mail article about the piece. So the lady that found the FOIA request, this photo came out, and this photo is General McCasland right before he disappeared on the day of his disappearance. He's at an REI. They were able to reverse engineer that he was at an REI. He doesn't look in distress to me. Looks like a normal old dude to me. And here's a key element. Let me take this down. In his hand, he has a first aid kit. He has a package that he picked up here, and he has a first aid kit in his hand. If you were going out to commit self-harm and disappear your body in the desert, you would never bring an first aid kit. That's literally the antithesis of hurting yourself, is bringing a first aid kit along. So the only reason why you're bringing a first aid kit along is you need some gear for some kind of trip, adventure, out to go somewhere, right? And again, he wasn't seen on any of the ring cams. Now, the rest of the evidence, I don't think there's much more that we need to look into, but let's take a look at this article real quick. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything here. Because I think the article does try to insinuate that he, all these articles are trying to insinuate that he harmed himself, which is wild to me. I don't see any evidence to even make that claim. Why is this? Okay, there we go. Yikes, these articles are terrible. Oh, and I think they said that, here we go. It's not known what the mystery package is, although such soft and malleable packages are often used for mailing clothing. So that bag that he has underneath his shoulder here, or under his hand here, it's likely that's some kind of clothing that he's got in there. Now, why is that interesting? Because the guy changed his clothes before he disappeared. That's known fact about the case. We know General McCasland changed his clothes. So did he get mailed clothes to change into? That's super weird. Supposedly he left his glasses behind as well. Why would you leave your glasses behind? That actually does make me think maybe he would harm himself. I can never imagine leaving my glasses behind anywhere. I've got 4 pairs of glasses that are all prescription glasses, and I'm never leaving the house without it. It's like torturing yourself. And here you go. This is people that were able to sleuth and figure out that he had a medical kit. There you go. Medical kit. Yeah. Did he get a drop bag, or what's going on with this? McCasland doesn't appear to be carrying a traditional REI shopping bag. However, REI does allow customers to place orders and pick them up on store. So maybe he placed an order in the store and picked it up. He left his phone. He's changed his clothes into I don't know what. I think he's on foot. You think about that, and now to me, I go, well, holy crap. I mean, he changed his clothes into whatever that he picked up there, and then he bolted. This is all planned. Super planned. Planned out an escape, and maybe some. I don't think he ran on foot. He got picked up. Probably had to get picked up somewhere. My guess is there was a rendezvous point. They had an extraction plan. They knew exactly which route to take to avoid the cameras, and he avoided the cameras. That's exactly what I think happened. And to me, yeah, I'm speculating heavily here on this, but it's speculation that's based on logical sense here. I mean, people are trying to say that he just harmed himself and not to think about it. That's not logic. They should have found his body if that was the case. You can't hide a dead dude's body. I mean, it's the desert, man. Where are you hiding his body at? Okay, let's see if there's anything else in here. Oh, and the other thing is that he had an argument He had an argument with the satellite or the solar panel guy. The repairman was a solar panel installation or repair guy. And he supposedly had some kind of argument with that person. So, in the fairness of wanting to look at all arguments, it's possible that maybe there was a personal conflict. Maybe the repairman came back for revenge. Repairman was like, you don't put me down. I'm going to keep it mad real. And came back and took out revenge on him. Probably not, but you know what? We got to keep all options open. And then anything else here? Let me see. And apparently he didn't really talk that much to other people, which doesn't surprise me. I don't either. I wouldn't want to, especially if you have the secrets that he has. Okay, so let's close that. Let me see. Was there anything else in here? Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much it. To sum this up, we know he was working on black projects even after he retired. He was working on a major Space Force defense contractor, which we will be digging into more next week, including their new company, because I started digging into them and realized there's something going on here. This is like Sierra Nevada Corporation all over again when you find these defense contractors that nobody knows about. He picked up a package right before. He got in an argument with the solar panel person before he disappeared as well. And he had a first aid kit on him, implying that he's not probably going to try to harm himself. And now that we've learned from Ross Coulthart that this guy was involved in these projects and that Ross Coulthart's been knowing about this for all this time and that he didn't show up on any ring cameras. This is probably the most important detail. He didn't show up on any cameras in the neighborhood. That just shows intention. Someone is trying to not be seen. If you're going to go wander out to the forest or whatever and harm yourself, you're going to accidentally get picked up on a camera somewhere. And people are like, oh, there's Ashton going off into the forest. And then they go find my body in the forest. That didn't happen because this is not a normal situation. So, okay. Let's go to the next thing. Now, I think it's unboxing time. Let me take a look here. Oh, one more clip I want to play. Let's start talking about physics. Wait, do I have... Let me make sure. One sec, chat. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, new council, we got that. NHI Biologics. Okay, good. Ampere's law. Longitudinal forces, scalar forces, the thing that we've been talking about all this time, they have been proven. So you say, Ashton, you're doing the same thing that other people are doing. Why don't you just tell me about disclosure? Why don't you just tell me what they're covering up? I will right now. They're covering up 0-point energy. They're covering up an extra dimension. They're covering up the fact that spin is connected to, it can help to assist in unifying gravity and electromagnetism. That's what they're covering up. They're covering up the fact that they can produce real negative energy and thus cancel out Einstein's equations. In fact, let me play this clip first, and then I'm going to go to the next clip. Because I just railed on Avi Loeb.
Let's see what happens in an inelastic
about negative energy, but I want you to understand why negative energy is so important, okay? On the top, you're going to see normal positive energy interactions. On the bottom, you're going to see negative energy interactions.
collision where one of the blocks has a negative mass. We still aren't worrying about forces at this point.
Okay, so when you interact with a negative mass, look at it goes faster. Instead of slowing down, it goes faster. Can you imagine running into a wall and then suddenly going faster afterwards? That's pretty weird, right? So this is why negative energy is so important, because negative mass or negative energy basically balance out positive energy when it comes to the math. And now if you scale this up, boom, look how much faster it goes. And now if you completely balance out the positive and the negative, 5 plus 5 minus 5, boom, teleportation, right? This is why negative energy is so important. Negative energy is the workaround to the math. This is why there is real free energy that can be tapped into in the form of 0-point energy, space-time itself, proven by the uncertainty principle. And the longitudinal forces are the stress in the medium. The stress in the medium, I would argue, is our gravitational pull. If I take these headphones and I pull on them, right, there's going to be this stress in this medium. This has actually been proven in electrical wires, that what's going on in the electrical wire is not just simple electromagnetism, but there's an interaction where the electromagnetism is interacting with itself. And we call this longitudinal force. Here you go. So Greneau has done a very simple experiment. This is new, I think, where he takes a very simple idea, just a straight wire, and says, is there some type of stress that cannot be accounted for by normal classical physics? Heat, expansion, metallic pinching, etc.
To something almost embarrassingly simple. A straight wire carrying a direct current, while temperature and force are measured at the same time. The point is not to create a spectacular effect, it is to remove the usual escape routes. No explosion, no plasma, no railgun. Just a constrained wire, a DC current, a temperature measurement, and a force sensor. A current-carrying wire already has one obvious reason to change its length. It heats up. If the wire is constrained, thermal expansion changes the measured tension. So the experiment does not simply ask whether the wire expands when the current flows, it asks whether there is an additional force along the wire that appears with the current, but cannot be explained by temperature. The wire is clamped between a micrometer-controlled stage and an S-beam force sensor. A thermocouple tracks the wire temperature. The current is switched on and off while the force and temperature are recorded together. The key claim is a separation between the two behaviors.
You know, one thing I noticed from this, you look at this graph right down here, and notice how the scaling up, the relaxation and the excitation are not the same. Notice how it spikes up quicker, but then it relaxes a little bit slower. That seems like something to me that would be exploitable. When you're an engineer and you see stuff like that, you go, I wonder if I can exploit that. It's like when I turn it on, it ramps up very quickly. But when I turn it off, it relaxes slowly. It's like, wait, so then can I just pump this like a swing and just like keep the swing pushing with little small pulses? Like that would be your first intuition, right?
Heating produces a slower thermal change in tension, but switching the current on produces an immediate force offset. When the current is switched off, the temperature falls slowly, while the force offset reverses much more quickly. In other words, the force temperature curve has the expected thermal slope, but the current appears to add an extra offset. That offset is the claimed anomalous longitudinal force.
So what he's saying there is that this proves that longitudinal force is real because you're seeing this extra offset that shouldn't exist otherwise. So you look at it, and yes, whoever just said sawtooth waves, that was one of the big reveals. The sawtooth wave is what you see right here. You see your sawtooth? Actually, no, this one's the sawtooth, right? Yeah, this is the sawtooth wave, yeah. That's what a saw looks like. These are the sawtooth. You know what? Holy shit, I didn't realize that was a sawtooth wave until just now. That's the sawtooth wave. Looks like a shark's teeth, right? And you go, this is the secret. This is what they thought the secret was to potentially producing anomalous thrust. I think it was that, what was that guy? Hold on. Do I have that other clip? This is crazy, actually, now that this is being revealed right here. Hold on. I think I have this. Was it this guy? This one.
White tested what we call second generation SFE as a confirmation effort for DARPA at the time, and they
I think this is the guy that said, he doesn't say it in this clip, but I think this is the guy that might have mentioned the sawtooth waves. Maybe I'm mistaken.
They also saw force, very good force at that. So so yeah, we've never had a problem proving that there's a force present. In fact, that's the entire basis of our research, is like, throw away the ion wind, what's left? Why does that thing keep moving? Let's harness that, because that's where the money's at. Literally that's the real deal. Everything else, yeah, it's okay. By the way, the modern term for the ion wind effect you guys are talking about is referred to as plasma actuators, and they're very popular now in the industry.
Okay. That was the clip from last stream. I think it's time to go into the unboxing, and we're going to talk about more physics here while we go through this. Tom Valone sent me all this stuff. Huge box. It was like 20 pounds, chat. This is the whole list. I'm not going to show this whole thing here. It says, the reason for this care package is to give you more info for podcasts, basically, it says on here. Has so much on here. So let me go through some of it. I was digging through this. It's unboxing time, chat. Woo! This is going to be a good unboxing. We got science, first ever science unboxing. Oh. We're going to start right off the top. Oh, and by the way, all of these can be purchased from their website, which I get no kickbacks from. I will repeat. There's a pamphlet in here. So here's their pamphlet. I was just going through the pamphlet, which is crazy in and of itself. I'm not big in the medical device stuff, guys. You know that because I do healthcare stuff. I got to avoid that. But, you know, I do find it interesting. A lot of these people jump into the medical device stuff. I think that's not probably the smartest move because that's where you'll get discredited and attacked by a lot of people that say that, you know, you're doing snake oil stuff. But the books on here and everything are amazing. And one thing I thought was really, I want to call out, apparently he edited some kind of report by Eric Lathwaite about gyroscopes. He says, consultant for NASA on magnetic levitation featured on the BBC, includes patents and journal papers. So basically, from reading through this, Tom Valone has done more research into zero-point energy than possibly any human on this planet. I'm actually surprised he hasn't been on Joe Rogan after looking through all this. I hadn't realized he had done this much work. Like, this is actually, and this is like, I would be proud to have this level, even when we're half this much content for people to consume. Let's dig into it. First foremost, scalar potentials, fields and waves. This is awesome. I got excited when I was looking through this. So it's actually a whole bunch of scientific papers that have basically been grouped together. Whole bunch of scientific papers have been grouped together. Take a look at this one right here, chat. You ready for this? You guys are gonna love. I randomly just opened this to this page. I didn't have this prepared. Get ready for this. Scalar waves and fields and potentials. I randomly opened to this page. What does that say? I'll read it to you. Communication method and apparatus with signals comprising scalar and vector potentials without electromagnetic fields. The inventor, Harold E. Pudoff, Austin, Texas. Earth Tech International, 1993. Information that changes as a function of time is communicated from a transmitting site to a receiving site by transmitting signal comprising scalar and vector potentials without including any electromagnetic field. The potentials vary as function of time in accordance with the information. That is what you need to teleport MH370 from over here to over here. Those scalar and vector potentials they're talking about, those are the real action. When they're spinning those orbs around MH370, they're producing a vector potential. The vector potential creates a rail gun that shoots the plane through higher dimensional space, like a warp drive, like a hyperspace. So the first patent that I open up in this document is Hal Pudoff's quantum communication device that I've talked about many times, that he's actually brought up. In fact, we have a relevant clip for this too. I told you, I'm like the Daily Show over here, chat. Ready for this? This is, I think, what Pudoff was talking about when he spoke about his contract. Here you go.
There are some, biological and consciousness-oriented experimenters that are taking a look at this idea that, okay, instead of just saying quantum entanglement, that's how information you get from here to there, maybe we can actually find out, okay, well, what's the mechanism, though? And so this is a whole new area. It turns out that I developed proof of principle for this sub-rosa quantum communication stuff on a classified contract back in the 90s, actually. So I got proof of
He developed proof of principle back in the 90s for quantum communication, and I'm looking at a quantum communication patent by Hal Puthoff from the 90s. I feel like this isn't a conspiracy anymore. This is just right here. I think the best argument against this is that they're really not hiding it at all. The best counter argument to my points is they're not actually hiding it. We're just retarded. They're like, it's just all right here in the open. People are making whole documents about all the papers put together, and everyone's just ignoring it. Like it's not real. Avi Loeb just pretends like this doesn't exist. Like, has Avi Loeb read any of this before? Has he read any of Hal Puthoff's papers or patents? I seriously don't think they have. Okay, let's keep going. We got a lot of documents to go through. Earthquake prediction technology. Now, why do I like this one? I like this one. I haven't even looked through it yet because this is what Tom Bearden was obsessed with. When Tom Bearden figured out that we can make scalar waves, longitudinal waves in the medium in space-time, he was like, well, we can make earthquakes then. Like we can produce a longitudinal wave in like a fault and we can make an earthquake happen. And so immediately they started going, well, are some of these earthquakes that are occurring, are people creating them? Are governments creating them? Because they could. And of course, everybody calls you a kooky and wacko and says, well, yeah, that's no one can really do that. We don't have that physics. We don't have that science. Truthfully, I'm not sure how all in on it I am, but I am excited to read about it and learn. So this is going to be one of the most fun ones, one of the most fun live streams when we dig into, can they really make an earthquake happen? That's what I like about this. Even though I'm not necessarily all in on it, I'm excited to learn and see, okay, how feasible is this really? Okay, next manuscript. Energy harvesting, the future of power production. Extensive collection of surprising electricity generation methods from ambient energy. So basically, this is a whole document of free energy devices. This is just a whole bunch of free. Let's just open it to a random one in the middle here. I wonder if we know any of these. Okay, I don't recognize these two amorphous strips. Actually, the more I don't recognize them, the better. But I'm sure that maybe Stanley Meyer's water car is in here. So I'll list off a couple that I'm reading here. An efficient piezoelectric energy harvesting interface using bias flip rectifier and shared inductor. Harvesting ambient vibration energy through piezoelectric means is a popular energy harvesting technique which can potentially supply available power. Here's another one. Proposal of wind vibrational power generator using a magnetostrictive material. So basically, they're going to turn the wind turbine itself into producing excess energy from just the material of it. Liquid metal turns motion into electricity, even underwater. The soft and stretchable device converts movement into electricity and can work in wet environments. Wow. So we've got probably, I'm just going through this, probably like 50 more free energy devices in here that I didn't even know about. And the point I want to make on this one is that one of the main arguments the UFO people make, in fact, I heard Neil, or who was saying it? They were arguing that there has to be, Eric Weinstein. Eric Weinstein was saying there must be something to this UFO topic because everybody's got this same story that they're all telling. Highly credible people. Well, if you look at the physics, you realize the same thing. It's all about spin to connect gravity and electromagnetism through an extra dimension. It's consistent. And free energy devices. You see the same commonalities in all of them. And all it takes is one to be real. Only one of these devices needs to be real. And if one of these is real, free energy is real. Simple as that. Okay, let's say what else we got here. I don't know. This one's like a weird package. I'm not going to open that just yet. Okay. The structures of scientific revolutions. Interesting. Okay, I don't know necessarily about all this one. The structure of scientific revolution is a landmark event in the philosophy of science. Challenged the long-standing linear notions of scientific progress, arguing that transformative ideas do not arise from the day-to-day gradual process of experimentation and data accumulation, but from the revolutions in science. Those breakthrough moments that disrupt the accepted thinking and offer unanticipated ideas occur outside of normal science, as he called it. The point here, now that I've read that, is that science doesn't advance stepwise. Science has leaps. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when I brought up negative energy. I brought up negative energy because people like Avi Loeb don't even see it as being a real thing. They think it's something that's 1,000 years from now. They think it's 1,000 years from now. And we had it in 2014. We probably had it in 1970. This is why science has become so distorted, is that what we see in the public is not even close to what we're actually capable of doing. And that's what we're trying to bring back. And that's what that book, I guess, is trying to tell us, is that scientific revolution doesn't come from insiders. It comes from the outsiders. It comes from the people pushing the boundaries. Harnessing the wheelwork of nature. Tesla's science of energy. And this is actually edited by Thomas Valone himself on this one. It says, this presents for the first time the feasibility for Tesla's most ambitious dream, wireless transmission of power. How are we going to do that? We want to deliver 8 hertz electricity anywhere in the world via longitudinal waves with only 5% power loss. There it is, chat. Remember when Lieutenant General Stephen Quast said we can beam energy from space to your phone and your phone would never have to be plugged in? He's talking about longitudinal waves. He's talking about Tesla physics. The government has already known we can beam energy because longitudinal waves can beam energy at much higher efficiencies than classical physics. The amount of the cover-up of free energy and zero-point energy is disgusting. If you're already disgusted by what I've told you here tonight, realize I've been doing this for 3 years, and I am 1,000% convinced that this is exactly what the cover-up is. And the applications are anything from life extension to teleportation to literally just having unlimited energy forever. And probably some AI stuff as well. So there you go. Tesla. Check that out if you want to know more about wireless transmission of energy. Mind-bending. The Hutchinson files. Now, this is cool because I think he was personally involved in this. No, George Hathaway was actually there. And I think Gary Stevenson was there as well. I think Gary Stevenson, Tim Ventura, and George Hathaway were all on a video. And this is where the story is basically that Hutchinson figured out this anti-gravity accidentally and doesn't even know how he did it. But he knows it was based on electricity, static electricity, and other factors. So these guys go and try to check it out, and they try to figure out, how does it work? Right? How does it work? Now, this guy has a weird past. He's kind of a sketchy character or whatever, but pretty much everybody in this industry is. So it kind of, at the end of the day, people aren't really sure what to think of him. People are like, oh, maybe he found something. And if he did, well, how does it work? Now, I'll read one of the quotes on the back here. This is funny. This is a review of the book. An informative, revealing, and indeed mind-bending look at the Hutchinson effect by a well-qualified first-hand investigator intimately involved in attempting to pin down the realities of this elusive phenomenon for over a decade. A must-read resource for anyone who would confront head-on claims associated with this controversial enigma. You want to know who that quote is from? Any guesses? Harold E. Pudoff. Yes. Harold E. Pudoff, right there. Can't make this up, chat. Harold Pudoff, and this is George Hathaway. Now, if I had to say, I'm going to tell you right now, we have found the engineers. I wasn't sure before if we found them, but now I know for sure we have found them. We found their whole little conglomerate. They're a little secret club. Hal Pudoff, Frank Mead, Paul Murad, David Froning, George Miley, Freibart Winterberg. We found all of them. Paul Sizz, there's many more as well. We found their club. George Hathaway is in the club as well. And I think some of them are using the other ones. And if I had to guess which ones know about it and are covering it up, I would say George Hathaway and Hal Pudoff are my top two guesses. Why? Because George Hathaway is the one testing all this stuff, and yet it doesn't seem to be coming out. And Hal Pudoff is like the ringleader that has all the information at the highest level. There's just no way Hal Pudoff can't know. It's just impossible. It's actually impossible for Hal Pudoff not to know. Okay. Hot house Earth extinction. Another Tom Valone. This is interesting. Tom Valone has a really interesting perspective on the climate change phenomenon. Because, he wants to help clean up the Earth. But I look at it and I go, well, we can end this anytime we want. Like this, the climate change thing was a big joke. And he's right. He's right. The reason why it's a joke are the same reasons why he's arguing. We can reverse climate change. We can remove all the greenhouse gases. Like we have this physics allows us to literally undo if we did cause damage to the environment, we can just undo it. That's how amazing this physics is. So even if you don't believe in climate change or what have you, the physics of what we're presenting here basically makes it a non-issue. And that's what I presented since the beginning. It's not that we don't impact the climate. I'm sure we do to some degree. I don't know how much. But even if we do, it doesn't matter. We're hiding the solution to climate change, like the permanent solution to climate change. We're hiding that in addition to free energy. It's like, how evil do you have to be hiding this kind of stuff? And then convincing yourself that you're the good guys while you're hiding it. It's crazy, man. Electrogravitics 2. Another one. Validating reports on a new propulsion methodology. Another Thomas Valone book. How does this guy edit this many books? I literally don't understand. Okay, this is a good time for an intermission on this one. Thomas Valone worked for the patent office. And I remembered something that he told me over the phone that I can't wait to get this guy on a podcast and talk to him about. He said he has seen the secret patents. Chat, clip the shit. Thomas Valone said he's seen how the secret patent process works, the 5,000 secret patents, because he was a patent clerk or, officer, whatever they call them. If you put a patent in, all the agencies can basically just review your patent and they can determine if they have any need or interest in the patent, and then they can just make it go away. That's how it works. So it turns out you put in a patent in publicly. If any agency says, well, we have an interest in that, they can just come in and then they can classify it and then it's just gone. Just like that. How wild is that? So when people say, how could you hide all this? Well, the government literally has like a thing where any agency can just classify any patent they want. So the moment you try to patent something, this is why I would even argue you shouldn't even try to patent stuff. If you're going to try to create some alien technology, don't patent it. That's the dumbest thing you can do. It's not even worthwhile. First of all, your patents aren't going to be protected. You're not going to be able to patent fundamental physics. The only reason to put a patent in is to teach other people what's possible. People are going to be able to get around your patents super easily, and you just risk the chance that the government comes and shuts you down. Just keep it as proprietary IP and don't make a patent for it. That's the way to do it. Okay. Let me see here. What was I doing here? Oh yeah. Okay. Next thing here. Nikola Tesla's Electricity Unplugged. Another one by Tom Valone. Wireless transmission of power as the master of lightning intended. My goat, chat. The Zenic wave breakthrough, as disclosed, documented and demonstrated by the Quorum brothers, will do the electrical world what cell phones have done to the telephone industry and Wi-Fi has done to the internet. Yet there is more. At this point in the 21st century, we are standing at a stargate into the most awesome developments in human civilization. That's Brigadier General Michael Miller, PhD. Why did he say the word stargate, chat? What's crazy to me is you have brigadier generals and military people who are giving these quotes on books about free energy and Tesla. And they're PhDs as well. Like when General McCasland tells you free energy is real, are you going to believe him? You better fucking believe him. He's the guy that's going to know. I got to read that again. At this point in the 21st century, we are standing at a stargate into the most awesome developments in the history of civilization. When was this book written? What the hell? Anytime people start dropping stargates or portal references, 2016. I seriously have to wonder what they know. Okay, we got more. 0 point energy, the fuel of the future. This is probably one I would recommend if you want to understand 0 point energy. Up until now, the use of 0 point energy for electricity generation was merely fantasy. No one thought it was possible to offer a source of unlimited energy for homes, cars, and space travel. Some experts still say 0 point energy can do nothing useful. The experimental evidence, however, shows incontrovertibly that ZPE is present and measurable quantities in coils and superconductors, and it can be turned on and off. Remember, what did I just show you on the sawtooth wave? The reason why pulse power physics is the key is just what you saw in that sawtooth wave. Wait, did I play the ampere thing? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. 0 point energy is the sea of energy that prevails all of space and every atom, often called the physical vacuum. So when people ask, what is 0 point energy? I see people say, no one's ever been able to explain what 0 point energy is. It is literally space-time. 0 point energy is literally space-time. It's literally the reason this is not the same as this. The reason why these two locations aren't the same is 0 point energy creates the medium that we live in. That's why when we push the 0 point energy away, we can teleport. Because we've moved away the medium. We moved away what gives us mass, what gives us weight. When you move that away, you cheat. You cheat the laws of physics. Thomas Valone. Here's his bio, by the way. He's a physicist and licensed professional engineer with over 30 years experience, former patent examiner, research engineer, instrumentation designer, CEO, and currently author, lecturer, and consultant on future energy developments. This is the guy. I just figured it out. This is the guy they should have put in charge of figuring out the UFOs. This is the guy. It shouldn't be me. Definitely shouldn't be Avi Loeb. It should have been Thomas Valone. This is the guy that will figure out what UFOs are faster than anybody else. Because he's got literally 20 books about how they work. Like, this is how you teach people is you release this and you release these documents and these scientific papers. You release these to people. You say, this is 0 point energy disclosure. Here you go. Here's the scientific papers. That's how we release it, because then Neil deGrasse Tyson goes, oh, I always believed in 0 point energy. Isn't 0 point energy so cool, guys? The Casimir effect, bruh. Electrostatic motors by Jemenko. Actually, this is important. Read this guy's name. Jemenko, we're about to watch a video where this guy gets mentioned related to how to manipulate gravity. Electrostatic motors. Now, you want to know why a magnetic motor is possible? Here you go. I was just arguing with one of those YouTube engineer people, which are all frauds. They're all frauds, by the way. If your name's not Veritasium, you're probably not a legit YouTube physicist or engineer. Most of them are basically just glorified iPhone repairmen. That's basically what these engineers are. And you try to explain to them that they don't know anything and that they got to read, and actually read for once in a while, maybe try to learn something, but they are not interested. The reality of a lot of these people is that they got to die. We're not going to be able to move forward until they die. They're too stupid. They're too closed-minded in their beliefs, too rigid in their thinking, and they're never going to figure this out. And their reality, their worldview, it doesn't contain free energy. It doesn't contain 0-point energy. They've created a reality that doesn't have any of this in it. So there's no way around it. And I don't mean that we have to kill them or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying we have to ignore them. We need them to just move on to the next realm so that our civilization can expand, that we can become the civilization we meant to be. Here's another one. Hip, knee, joint, back stiffness relief supplemented with electrotherapy. So if you have chronic pain, I guess electrotherapy might be able to assist you. Now, the reason why I find this interesting, even though I'm not a medical healing guy, is the thing about the plants, where plasma supposedly helps plants grow. Like, there's clearly some connection to 0-point energy and our growth. So it makes sense that you would actually be able to manipulate to some degree. But again, this isn't medical advice. Take it or leave it. Electrogravitics Volume 1. So there's 2 volumes, Volume 1 and 2 on electrogravitics. This one specifically talks about Thomas Townsend Brown and his patents, electrogravitic systems, and the gravitics situation. It says, by definition, electrogravitics has historically has had a purported relationship to gravity or the object's mass, as well as the applied voltage. As volumes 1 and 2 demonstrate, electrogravitics is still today a viable area of propulsion research that could yield tremendous technological and economic dividends. T.T. Brown. Remember that Mike Barra guy that said T.T. Brown is how the aliens get here? He wasn't technically wrong, but saying that T.T. Brown is how the aliens get here is a relatively simplistic view of the situation. Okay, a few more. Bioelectromagnetic healing. So a lot of these people have like scalar wave kind of healing device stuff. I'm going to have to read through it and decide what my full opinion is on it, but I don't have time to do that right now. T.T. Brown's electrogravitic research. These are my favorite ones. These ones that are just the pamphlets of papers. Electrogravitics, an energy-efficient means of spacecraft propulsion. Paul LaViolette. Thomas Townsend Brown's Notebooks by Charles Yost. Interesting. 0-point documentary on the electrogravitics flux liner. That was Mark McCandlish's thing as well. So here's a bunch of articles on this one about electrogravitics in the 50s. Pretty neat. Rick Sanchez. Yep, Rick Sanchez chat. Okay, now what else do we have here? Predictive connection for 2100 between atmospheric carbon. So this is another climate change one. So this is a climate change article. And in this, I think he's basically going to say that we can reverse this. Let's see what he says. Yeah, okay. We're just going to skip the climate change one. Whatever. The Zeta Reticuli incident. This is, what are their faces' names? With commentary by Carl Sagan, huh? This was the Barney and Betty Hill sighting, right? Barney and Betty Hill, I think, was when she had like a psychic download and saw some dots, what have you. So that's pretty cool. Neat. Okay, a couple more. Man, there's a lot, huh? The electrogravity device of Thomas Townsend Brown. Now they call it the ion wind. I just showed a clip where now they call it actually plasma actuators instead of ion wind, but it's the same physics. So this looks like an old Thomas Townsend Brown document. So it sounds like we're going to have to do a live stream all on the Thomas Townsend Brown content. There's so much in here. Very interesting. It looks like some of that was classified once upon a time. And then lastly, last one. Practical conversion of 0-point energy. The authoritative guide to the latest developments, tools, and physics behind the best sources of energy for the future. Now, this is what I'm excited to talk to him about because I want to chat with him about plasma. Interesting here. This one looks, oh yeah, feasibility study. Is this what the whole thing, the feasibility study? Yeah, sweet. Because I'm curious as what he thinks about plasma and high beta plasmas. What I've realized is that plasma is going to basically be a direct way to tap into 0 point energy. Just like I had predicted before, it's basically going to be a funnel or a tap or, you know, a well to pump that 0 point energy out. It's going to have to be the right configuration, but there you go. So what that means is these plasma companies like David Kirtley of Helium Fusion and Tri-Alpha Energy, they must know about this. Think about what I told you in that longitudinal wave. The longitudinal wave experiment that I just showed you says that there is a stress in the medium. But plasma itself, this stress represents instabilities. It means that when you have this plasma, the plasma is an electromagnetic soup. And you're trying to control that soup. But we just saw in the wire that it starts to crinkle and squish together from the longitudinal forces. So you actually have to be able to incorporate these longitudinal forces into your plasma if you want to create that coherent ball plasma we see in the MH370 videos. And this means they had to have solved this. They had to have figured out these longitudinal scalar waves, and they have solved the math privately because they needed that math to make those plasma balls. That's what's so huge. That's why there's no way it's aliens in those videos. This is a machine, a weapon that we have designed, that humans designed and built. Of that, I'm sure. So what we're going to do here next, thank you guys for following. We have a huge live stream tonight. We're going to watch some Paul Murad. So you want disclosure? I don't know how to do disclosure, truth is. I don't know. My best bet is I teach you guys the physics slowly over time. That's the only way people are going to wake up and realize we've actually got this. We have to demystify it because we think this science is 1,000 years ahead, but it's not 1,000 years ahead. We already had it in the past. So tonight we're going to take a look at a person that we have not ever seen before, I don't think. There actually is one more thing that I was sent. COFE 12th Conference on Future Energy, August 14th through 15th, 2020. 13 presentations. Do you recognize anyone on this list? The top guy, Dean Radin, he was just on Joe Rogan last week. Literally just on Joe Rogan this week. Dean Radin, that guy. That's Thomas Valone. This is a military guy that I've never heard of before. And this guy at the bottom, that's Paul Murad. That's the same Paul Murad that Salvatore Pais was talking about. Paul Murad, David Froning, and these guys are supposedly the ones that helped figure this out. Well, I don't think I've ever seen him speak before, so tonight's going to be the first night. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. It's only, how long is this? We're going to play it on a little bit faster speed, and I'm going to try to interpret what I see because there's some pretty big revelations here, I thought, from this. Okay. So the presentation's available on the internet. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's in kind of low quality. I think some people are trying to up quality it right now, which I appreciate. Here's Thomas Valone's YouTube channel. If you guys want to check it out for yourselves and watch at your own leisure. Right off the bat, look at the name of his presentation. The name of Paul Murad's presentation is Anomalous Gravitational Behavior and Spin Are Evaluated and Postulated. Actually, that's not right. The presentation is called Gravitation as a Rotation or Vorticity Field. So Paul Murad, right off the bat, is about to argue for us that spin, that rotation is what connects gravity and electromagnetism. Here you go. Does that sound familiar, by the way? It should. It should, because it's really similar to what Ferris Williams has been talking about. Ferris Williams says 5D theory, and he says that spin is the torque, is the connection that we've been missing. And here, this Paul Murad's about to tell us that spin is the connection we've been missing. This is why I say, guys, there is a common theme. There's a common theme when you're trying to understand the connection between electromagnetism and gravity. And that common theme is spin, rotation, vortex motion. Here we go.
Also, a chairman for various technical conferences, including magnetohydrodynamics or National Aerospace Claim and the High Frequency Wave Conference.
Oh, wow. He worked on the National Aerospace Plane and the MITRE High Frequency Gravitational Wave Conference. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It just sucks I didn't get to meet these people before they died, because these are definitely the Black Project engineers that built the shit. Definitely.
Technology and Applications International Forum. He's also contributed to one of my books, The Future of Energy.
Is gravity using Maxwell's equations, where gravity is electric fields and co-gravity is a...
Sorry.
We're going to cover some terms that continue. Some of this will be based upon some previous analysis that we did last year. Next, please. One of the things that bothers me is when you have a red giant that collapses with a supernova. If the weight is below a certain limit,
I screwed up, chat. Okay, here we go. I screwed up. Okay, here we go. We're starting here.
Ways to discovery. In other words, when we find errors, we need to learn something along the way. Well, if you look at various gravitational laws, there are some problems. For example, Newton and Winterberg cannot produce gravity waves. Jeff Menkel's model can, because he introduces a rotational field. Why does he do this? We'll discuss some of that.
Bro, okay, right off the bat. Is that Friedwart Winterberg? Is my dude talking about Friedwart Winterberg in the same context as Newton? Yes, he is. Is that Jeff Minko, the dude whose book I was just looking at here? Yes, it is. Where's the Jeff Minko book? Oh, look. There's the Jeff Minko book right there. Holy shit. It's all coming together, chat. So he was using Friedwart Winterberg's Planck ether model here. I mean, that is clearly what he's using, because that's Friedwart Winterberg's model. I know all about it. I'm an expert on Friedwart Winterberg. He had a Planck ether hypothesis. So what he's saying here is that Newton is missing something, but then he's saying Winterberg is also missing something. He's saying Jeff Minko, which includes vorticity. This now adds something that we can apply as gravitational waves.
And there are other models that go further that improve Jeff Menkel's model by leaving out co-gravity. Next, please. One of the approaches to do this is to look at the conservation equation for continuity. And this leads us some insights into why you need to convert gravitational waves into a Newtonian field. Moreover, we look at a model on Winterberg and make an improvement on his model to account for some certainties, some anomalies, where gravity does not satisfy 1 over r squared, but ends up with a constant value. We also will discuss some issues about neutron stars. And we're going to cover some terms that continue. Some of this will be based upon some previous analysis that we did last year. Next, please. One of the things that bothers me is when you have a red giant that collapses with a supernova.
Okay, so this is where it starts to get interesting. If you like physics, this is where you're going to start being interested in this, because you can realize these guys are legit physicists. Because he says, we're told that if the star is above a certain mass, it's going to become a black hole. If the star is below a certain mass, it's going to become a neutron star. But then he says, well, why? Is there any implication for spin on this? So we're asking questions about observations, astronomical, cosmological observations that we can see. And then we're trying to find solutions to it. We're not just asking questions, we're looking for answers.
If the weight is below a certain limit, I get a neutron star. If it's above a certain limit, I get a black hole. How do you do this? It's two different things. And can we learn something about gravitation as well as the effect of spin and how that influences these models? Next, please. Can we characterize some different models? We intend to do that. Are some models proven? Well, some of them are. Can we change these models? Absolutely. And we need to have something about a model that includes gravity waves, if we believe Einstein. Is this worth discussing? Obviously, yes. As I mentioned, Newton and Winterberg's model is irrotational, do not generate gravitational waves. Jeff Menko copies gravity using Maxwell's equations, where gravity is electric fields and co-gravity is a magnetic field. There are ways around this, and we have to look at it. If indeed there's a way of looking at this, we can find out if Einstein is telling the truth or did he lie. Next, please.
Holy shit, chat. I don't know if you realize what he just said there. Basically, Paul Murad comes in and says, there's two different kinds of gravity. There's gravity A and there's gravity B. There's this commingling of gravity, co-gravity. Is that gravity also has a duality, just like electromagnetism. If you were not familiar, the electric field propagates this way, and the magnetic field propagates orthogonally 90 degrees to the angle of the electric field. So there's a duality to electromagnetism, that you have one wave going like this and one wave going like this that are connected. Well, it turns out gravity may also have that same duality. There may be a positive gravity and negative gravity. So this right here, to me, speaks directly to what Bob Lazar was saying about two different types of gravity. This could be an explanation for Bob Lazar's gravity A or B. Now, I don't know because I don't know more details about his thing, but this is the first time I've ever even really seen this idea. And what I like about it is it expands upon Winterberg's ideas. I like Winterberg's Planck ether hypothesis, but it doesn't go deep enough for me. This is why I like Ferris Williams more. Ferris Williams has a more all-encompassing view that can, from first principles, determine the magnetic moment, figure out the strength of gravity, etc. So I think he's a little deeper. But this is what we need. Why? Because he takes Maxwell's equations and we bring back this term that's missing. We need something else in the math that's missing, and we know what it is. We're missing it in Maxwell's equations. So in this case, we add a curl component to the gravity.
All right, this is a table that I gave out previously. If you look in the right-hand corner, you see del squared phi equals 4 pi g. And if you look one step below that, you have del squared phi equals minus 2 omega squared. Those are elliptical partial differential equations. No characteristic waves. But the other ones all have characteristic waves. We have wave equations, g squared g dt squared minus del squared g. Those are wave equations. That'll produce gravity waves. Why do they work? Well, these models produce a curl term, and they interject time into the equation. Now, when we talk about gravitational currents, what does that mean? That's something that's yet to be determined. And we're talking about, if we look at the last model, we make a simpler model where we're looking at the time change of current and of gravity. How do we interject time with gravity? Next, please.
The other thing I like about him is he's really quick. Like, you can tell Paul Murad knows exactly what he's talking about. These slides are just slides for him to riff off of. A lot of times when you watch presenters, and I'm a consultant, so I've done countless presentations, you want to have your slides have dots on them, but you want to do what Paul Murad's doing here. You want to have reference points, but you want to just be speaking naturally to it. You don't want to just be reading off the slides. And he's speaking to the key points of what he's trying to present.
Well, that's one of the enigmas we need to look at, as well as others. For example, when you look at the microwave cosmic background radiation, you have 2.7 degrees. What's going on? 2.7 degrees, that implies energy. Energy implies mass. Mass is there, that implies gravity. Gee, what does that mean? Do we see that anywhere? Next, please. Well, the Milky Way has a lot of things to learn about, and we should look at this and try to understand how all these stars interact with each other. Next, please. Let's take a look at a galaxy, a spiral galaxy. Next, please. The Moon approach looked at stars in the spiral arms of galaxies, and something very unusual happened. Next view graph, please. He ends up with two curves. One is a lower curve, which he used when he's using Newtonian gravity, and the upper one is one that he sees in terms of data, where he's looking at velocity of the stars and the distance.
So this is right here talking about dark energy. Dark matter, actually, in this case. In dark matter, they're looking at the velocity of the stars around the galaxy. And what we learned was the stars were moving too fast. So what this means is there had to be more gravity there, right? This was the big problem. So right away, what is he saying? Well, if I want to prove that this theory is correct, it needs to be able to explain cosmological things that classic physics, Einstein, gravity can't explain. First one, dark matter, right? If you can explain dark matter, you've got a good theory.
And the first question you have is this difference indicates there's a heck of a lot of mass in there. And how do I generate gravity to do that? What's going on here? Now, the common approaches say dark matter exists, but there could be other approaches as well. Next, please.
But this is the velocity graph?
Yep.
Okay, just to clarify for people.
Okay. Well, basically, if we assume V equals the square root of RG based upon units, we could say certain things. Let G satisfy 1 over R squared, which is Newtonian. You end up with 1 over the square root of R. that's the lower curve after a certain distance. If you let G a constant, then you end up with the square root of R, and that's the upper curve. So Moon tends to suggest that out there, you end up with something that looks like the square root of R. Next, please.
So, trying to understand this slide he says here. I think what he was saying there, let me try to mind absorb that. He's saying the velocity is equal to the square root of R times G. And so therefore, he was saying that if G is a constant, that you expect to see 1 over R squared or something like that. I don't know. I didn't quite understand it, but I think basically what he's saying is that this approach, the MOND approach, modified approach, will explain dark matter, right? That's what he's getting at.
Okay, if there's a constant value out there to do this, do we have any other evidence? Well, we have that with with the Pioneer 10 and 11 spacecraft missions.
So MOND as well, if you don't know, MOND is another theory that expands general relativity and tries to explain dark matter, dark energy. I think I saw Hal Puthoff interested in it, but I don't think it's close, but not good enough, basically, is my general approach of my general perspective of the MOND theory.
We're going to talk about that a little later on, where they result with a gravity, a constant value. In other words, instead of going over 1 over R squared, you go into a constant gravity, and it's like 10 to the minus 8. And if you look at the next view graph, please. If you look at the Oumuamua, you have something like 10 to the minus 4. Okay, if this is a factor here where gravity does not vanish infinitely, can we make an accounting for it?
That I just saw something get mentioned for Oumuamua right there. How do I go back? It says right there, Oumuamua celestial body. How do we determine this factor other than dark matter? Now, one of the things, I'm going to go back to the Avi Loeb situation. Avi Loeb and his followers have been saying, well, you have to prove Avi Loeb wrong. You have to prove that the space rock is not an alien spaceship. No, I don't. That's not how any of that works, first of all. Second of all, the reason why you're probably seeing anomalous things happening to the rock is because you don't fucking understand physics. You get it? That's what this is saying. This is saying when you see that space rock move in a weird way, it's because you don't understand physics. That's why it moves in a weird way, because your physics is wrong. It's not because it's an alien spacecraft. It's because you don't even understand dark matter. So how can you understand how a space rock is going to flow through outer space? That's the harsh truth.
If we look at the Winterberg model, we are considering if you look at the Oumuamua, you have something like 10 to the minus 4. Okay, if this is a factor here where gravity does not vanish infinitely, can we make an accounting for it? Can we go back, please? If we look at the Winterberg model, we are considering rotation in a neutron star. And what can we learn about this? Next, please. Well, I did an analysis last year, and we ended up with certain results. Next, please. The results are that I don't know how to run this gravity law. So I look at these terms as exponential terms, as well as source functions that will produce gravity potentials and gravities. And the question is, where are these gravity models end up with a constant at R equals infinity? Next, please. So what I did is I looked at the first equation, which satisfying del.
So if you want to wonder, how could someone figure out gravity? How could someone manipulate gravity? That's how. This is what they have to do, is they have to go through all this work. They have to figure out, hey, here's some models, here's some observations, do all this math. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, they're going to have figured out, okay, this math, this equation, this is the answer. It's probably some advanced version of Jefemko, right? And you can see the progression of this from Friedwart Winterberg and early ideas of Planck ether, where they were trying to figure out what's the real unification model. And they know what the answer is. It's just proprietary. It's locked up in a Lockheed Martin, lab somewhere, or in a government file somewhere in the CIA.
Grid phi equals FR. When F of phi is equal to omega squared, that's Winterberg's model. Well, my feeling is that the rotational effect doesn't go out to infinity. It has to decay. So let's put a distance decay, and put that in there. And lo and behold, when we back off the function for gravity, we end up with R to the 1 minus 2n, or if n is equal to 1/2, we have a situation where you're generating gravity and it ends up with a constant value. And that was the second table, on the table, the second value we had. So that gives us an idea of what to look for a model for modifying the Winterberg model. Now, what does this mean about rotation? You could assume that the rotation ends when you end up the neutron star, which is insignificant. But I think it means more than that. If you look at the first table, first picture, it's from the Pioneer effects, where you're looking at the magnetic field from the sun to the earth.
Whoa. Look at what that says, chat. It says, if the magnetic field, hence electrical field as well, are so strong, then the energy through the pointing vector generates mass via de Broglie waves and then provides gravitation. This effect is demonstrated on a neutron star over a typical star. Guys, this is exactly how they figured out how to teleport the plane. This is exactly it. Why are the orbs spinning around the plane like that? This is it. Because they figured out how to use the pointing vector to make your vector potential and then to have it create a real gravitational force that breaks through the light barrier. Jabroni waves.
And then all the way out to Jupiter. It rotates once a month. If you look at a neutron star in the lower left side, you have the star rotating anywhere from 10 to 600 times a second. Not once a month, but per second. So you're generating a lot of magnetic fields out there. By Maxwell's equations, you got to generate electric fields. And this might generate gravity. So you need that omega term out there. Next, please. All right, let's look at this conservation law. We're looking at the change of the source term and a gradient on the current. Again, what does a gravitational current mean? Hard to say. Let's integrate that equation as a function of time. We end up with a constant, not a constant, but we end up with a steady state term.
So we're treating gravity as an electrical current that has a duality, just like electromagnetism here.
Let's keep that in there. And when you put that in the original expression for Newtonian with gamma counted for relativity, you end up with what's going on. And finally, you back out G, and you end up with the term that includes an integral for the current as a function of time, a steady state value, a constant, CG. Well, maybe that's this constant value we're talking about. And something we don't know anything about. It's f of g of t, just a function of time, nothing else. That could be a Dirac delta, a Dirac C, who knows? Next, please. So when you go through this, you try to fool around with these equations.
Okay, so he did some things. He found some math, and he said, hey, we found the constant we were looking for. It's a function of time, but we don't really know in a real sense what that means. We're like, okay, we get it, but we don't see this. So what does this really mean? So now we're going to try to figure out what conservation would mean for gravity. So what we're trying to figure out here now is if this is true and we have to obey conservation laws, what's the math going to be? So we're slowly digging through this. So I'm going to let this keep going.
You could change that term into G caret to be that steady state gravitational effect. And you have to take a curl term. Well, if you take a curl term, if it disappears, then we have a irrotational field. There's no gravity waves. So J of S got to be there, and G caret's got to be there. So stick in another curl term in there. Next view graph, please. And do some manipulations. And as you go through this, you find out that certain terms appear, but they disappear. And you finally end up on the bottom with minus del squared G equals 4 pi G, so on. You can argue you're going to get that directly by using the gradient and the terms, but then you have an additional term in there, del cross G. Now, if G caret is a function of R, that should disappear, but you never know. Next, please. Well, what about the other side of the equation? Let's take time derivatives. When we take the second derivative, the G caret term, because it's steady state, disappears. And when you combine them now, you have a different gravitational wave equation. You've got the characteristics, the source term, the curl.
Yeah, chat. And I'm struggling to keep up with the math just as you. I'm never going to forgive the CIA for making me learn math. That's the one thing. I hate them for that. It's literally like the worst thing you could possibly do. However, this has got to be the vortex math, right? Like this is going to be exactly the same as the vortex math. What everybody has been doing is they've been taking electromagnetism, and they take the Maxwell's electromagnetism equations, and they combine them with gravity. And they're always making an assumption. Right? They're saying, oh, there's an extra dimension. There's an extra degree of freedom. Spin is related, whatever it is. They make their assumption, and then they take the math and they try to make it work. That's what we're seeing here. That's why I find this so interesting is looking at it from different perspectives. And this is the perspective where I think they literally figured it out. So here we go.
So the curl, and you have a function where current varies as a function of time, and another factor that's a function of time yet to be determined. Well, we've worked through this with Newtonian gravitation. So it looks like neither Einstein nor nor Newton lied. They're both telling the truth. Next, please. Let's carry this a step further. Let's assume the source term is equal to a separable time factor and a steady state value. And the same thing holds for the current. When you put this into the conservation equation and you do your manipulations, you end up with the Helmholtz equation that gives you an idea of the steady state source term. Next, please.
What? You end up with the Helmholtz equation? No, chat. No fucking way. Okay, if you don't understand why this is so big, is because if you look up the magnetic wormhole paper, they use Helmholtz configurations to teleport. In the real paper about magnetic wormholes, they literally use a Helmholtz configuration, which is literally a toroid around your object and a second toroid over here. A Helmholtz configuration is two toroids, two donuts, and they create a connection between the two of them. That's a Helmholtz configuration. So when you're thinking about this and you're going, holy shit, man, like they're literally spinning the orbs around this plane like a Helmholtz coil, and they've got another Helmholtz receiver or something on this side, and that's where they're teleporting it. And they're shooting it like directly. This isn't a situation where the plane's like going from here to like up over here. They're like shooting this like a rail gun, and it's just teleporting through extra dimensional space and then reappearing on the other side. It's no coincidence that this goes back to the Helmholtz equations. No coincidence.
Well, let's carry that a little further. Let's allow the body to rotate. Let's all allow the current to rotate. And when you put that into the conservation equation, you do all the...
Allow the current to rotate, chat? Why do you think the orbs are spinning around the plane, chat? We're rotating the current around the plane. We're rotating the electromagnetic fields around the plane.
manipulation, it turns out the effects of the current is insignificant. But for the Helmholtz equation, you are driven by the rotation. Alpha is negative, so it's positive. So what's happening as spin goes, this charge density accumulates and increases over time. Next, please. Let's go.
As spin goes, charge density accumulates over time. This is what I'm talking about. It's a fucking railgun, chat. They are winding this thing up and then blasting it off. And they blast it off, not blast it off at a speed, but they blast off the space-time, allowing it to just tunnel right through the barrier of space-time. Wow.
Step further and change that value to beta omega squared. And lo and behold, this equation looks quite close to what Winterberg's suggesting.
Ah, and you see, then they come back and they go, and it turns out this looks very similar to what Winterberg was suggesting. Now, keep in mind, Winterberg, his math didn't go deep enough. But the idea was generally correct for Winterberg. That's why this is so important when it gets back and you go, oh, this is actually very similar to what Winterberg was approaching, what his view was.
That's interesting. Next, please. All right, I mentioned this thing about Pioneer 10 and 11. The spacecraft that have been there.
Bro, what? What? Yo, if that's it, this is like The Sopranos. That better not be the end of the gravity thing. Are you kidding me? You can't just cut the black.
There for a long time, and they keep going. Next, please. One went to the left, one went to the right. They went past the system. They're in the Oort cloud. They keep on going. Next, please.
I'm pretty sure what he's about to show us here is that the satellites prove that this is real. Jack Sarfati. No way. Why did it say Jack Sarfati? Jack Sarfati provided a nice graph showing the unmodeled accelerations.
But they have a problem with the trajectory. It turns out that gravity indeed becomes a constant value above Uranus. And it's like I said earlier, 10 to the minus 8. Next view graph. As I mentioned, the same thing with Oumuamua. As it came into our solar system, it generated, it had undergone a gravitational attraction of like 10 to the minus 4, a constant value. So that between these two and Mund, there's a factor here where gravity does not vanish, like 1 over r squared at infinity. Next, please. When you look at the continuum, the space-time continuum, the deflection represents gravity. Well, there's our sun as an example. A white dwarf generates more gravity. A neutron generates a heck of a lot. But a black hole has a singularity. How do I go?
I think he was just confirming what I said about Oumuamua. He was saying that these things are producing their own gravity. When we measure the gravity based on their velocity, we are seeing that it creates a constant. After a certain cutoff, there's a constant just like we expected from the Mond theory that he showed before. Now, this is just a standard picture of gravity. When I say we're in this 0-point energy, which is space-time, you can see how this space-time would be manipulated. And that manipulation is gravity, just like this image right here. So when I go, hey, guys, we're in 0-point energy. When I want to make a black hole, or if I want to make a wormhole, I'm going to pull that 0-point energy away. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This graph right here. Same idea.
From the neutron star to the black hole. It's amazing. Next, please. Well, Paul Laviolette came out with a model on the pulsars, and the conventional wisdom is the neutron star lighthouse model, and it came about due to a burnt-out star after a supernova, and there's a bunch of neutrons together that are forming crystals that are increasing the density and going on from there, and so on. And he looked at some signals and pulses that come out from this. We're talking about signals that come out anywhere from 600 times a second, and it's repeatable and it's extremely accurate. Next, please. But he comes up with some numbers that says there's pulse drifts. There are amplitude modulation effects. There are mode switching. What's going on? Now, I don't think he says this about all neutron stars, but this is some of the data that was out there. What does this mean? Next, please. Well, like I said, pulsars are very accurate, and we need to know this if we're going to go to cis-lunar and cis-Martian flights. So we better get used to it. Next, please. One of the assumptions is that neutron star is assumed to be a perfect sphere. What if the implosion is not even or uneven?
So Paul Laviolette starts researching these neutron stars, and he sees that they're switching modes. Switching modes would be like suddenly changing the beat. Like your cell phone ring changes its tune. Like, whoa, your cell phone ring just changed? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Why is that happening? And they say, well, this has got to be because they're not perfectly spherical. There has to be some sort of instability or asymmetry to it that causes it to have this weird shifting. Otherwise, it should just be consistent all the time.
We need to look at the exterior boundaries of the supernova to determine the size or the shape of the neutron star. And if it's irregular, there's got to be an electron gas over the surface of it. It's going to generate vortices at certain locations on the neutron star. And if this occurs, I will see things happen to the waveform. They'll end up with drifts and so on. Next, please.
Oh, so he's saying the reason why we were seeing those mode changes because there's these vortices that were forming on the supernova, and these were shifting the signals that were coming out of it, warping the signals.
Well, here's a lighthouse model. It rotates around an axis. It sends out a beam of electromagnetic energy, and it sweeps over, and we see it on the Earth. If you look at the graph on the lower left side, there's the Earth going around the sun. It takes about a year to do that in one orbit. But for the pulsar, in that footprint shown there, it does that in a week. So that gives you a feeling for the difference in the gravitational attraction. Next, please. Here's some supernovas. Look at it. The one on the right side, that looks like I'll get a spherical neutron star. But on the left side, I don't know. On the lower left side, all bets are off. This might be overload. God knows what it looks like. And that's the way to look at the neutron star.
So it's pretty cool because we have real images. And yeah, this is my new goat too. These are all my new goats. Tom Valone, Paul Murad, like, wow. I can't believe we didn't even see this up before. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people look at these neutron stars and say, this is proof that we're seeing electrostatic, electromagnetic effects on the celestial level, on the astronomical level. And I happen to agree with them the more I look into it. The more I look into it, I say the answers to the physics we're looking at have always been just right out there. We just have not been interpreting the answers correctly.
Next, please. Here's some more to look at. Notice some are near spherical with hiccups. What we need to do is look at each neutron star and look at the differences in the waveform. Next, please. Okay, the other point is that this is being collapsed by a red giant star. But red giant stars, or any stars, do not have singular model. The equation becomes entirely difficult to deal with. Later, it discharges. And when it does that, it generates a jet.
Okay, this is what I wanted to see. Let's go to this part here. I'm going to go back a minute. About here. Okay.
The axis of rotation, it doesn't sound good to me. So it's got to come out of the black hole itself. And it violates the fact that you might be moving faster than the speed of light.
So the biggest problem with the black holes is that it can't just be a void. When it comes to physics, your black hole can't be a void because that would mean information is being destroyed. So we have to come up with some answer to that. Do you want to know what the answer is? There's no black holes. It's a white hole on the other side. Like there's no naked black holes. There must be, am I saying that right? Probably not saying that right. That naked black hole may refer to the event horizon. That could exist. In this case, every black hole must have a white hole counterpart. If there is a vortex, a drain that's sucking stuff away, there must be something where it's pumping out on the other side. That's my perspective on how this works. The other perspective that we investigated is that a black hole is not actually a vortex at all. And that a black hole is simply, or it's not, a black hole is not a drain. A black hole is not a drain, it's just a vortex. It's just a vortex where there's a shifting permeability where we're seeing a refractive index change. And that's why it's invisible to us.
Please. Where does this jet come from? Well, if you look at a model, we talked about the neutron star model we talked about, put it in the Faraday cage. And here it's just building up with this rotation over and over and over, like a capacitor that you're charging it up and up and up. And sooner or later, it discharges. And when it does that, it generates a jet. Okay.
Holy shit, chat. I keep wondering about these orbs. Like, it's so clear that they're winding up in the video, right? It's that when they go vertical on the plane, plane's flying, they go vertical around the plane. Why doesn't it happen instantly? Why doesn't the teleportation happen right away? Because they have to wind up, they have to charge up or something, some equivalent of that. And then they slow down and converge on the plane, and then the whole thing snaps back. And you read this and you go, wait a minute. So it says these fields are going to keep accumulating consistent with the Helmholtz equation. It's like a capacitor that is continually, it's increasing over time with electrons and voltage. When overcharged, the capacitor releases its current, similar to the jet of relieving a black hole. I mean, I don't know if that's the exact mechanism by which the plane is teleporting, but it sounds like it's a feasible one to me.
Something else. The jet doesn't come out both ways. It comes out one way. Well, that must mean that this model that we have must also be a monopole, which adds another complication to this thing about a black hole. Next, please.
Wow, that's weird. The jet only comes out one way in the black hole? I didn't know that. If a jet's only coming out one way in a black hole, that would be very odd, right? Wouldn't you expect there to be a dipole?
Next. All right, here's a typical conventional wisdom viewpoint of a black hole. The jet's out there, the accretion disk. And in this case, somebody said, well, there's a magnetic field around the black hole. No, that's not going to happen. Next, please. Here's a black hole that we have in the picture. God knows what this means. Next, please.
I love them. Like, these are like, we don't even know what this means. That was literally like the famous photo of the black hole that they made that he just showed there a second ago. Where is it?
Must also be a monopole, which adds another complication.
Must also be a monopole, guys.
Next. All right, here's a typical conventional wisdom viewpoint of a black hole. The jet's out there, the accretion disk. And in this case, somebody said, well, there's a magnetic field around the black hole. No, that's not going to happen. Next, please.
There it is. This is the famous photo of the black hole right here. How funny is that? He's like, doesn't even care.
Here's a black hole that we have in the picture. God knows what this means. Next, please.
God knows what this means.
One thing about the jets are the appearance of shocks occur, like gas dynamic shocks, just kind of strange. And next one, please. Again, we have on the left, conventional wisdom side of what's going on with the jet, both sides. But on the right, in the upper left side, that's the black hole, and there's the jet. One jet. Notice that it has shocks. There's no other jet. Next one, please.
Wait, chat, what? This can't be real, right? I seriously started to wonder about reality now. Like, I totally understand when, if you guys don't know, Ferris Williams, after he corrected the thermonuclear weapons calculations, he like decided that all physics was fraud and it was all bullshit. Why am I learning right now for the first time in my whole life that black holes only have one jet coming out of them? And that all the depictions of them depict two jets coming out of them, but there's literally only one. Is this true? I honestly don't know if this is true or not. I'm going to have to Google this in a second.
There's another one. Where's the other jet?
There's another one. That's another black hole with only one jet. I mean, you can see there's not two jets. That's like probably tens of thousands of light years. Is that probably how big that is? What? How did I only learn this?
Going in another dimension? Who knows?
Wait, did you just say another dimension? Did you just say the black hole's sending it to another dimension? I got to go back, chat. Holy shit, chat.
Conventional wisdom side of what's going on with the jet, both sides. But on the right, in the upper left side, that's the black hole, and there's the jet. One jet. Notice that it has shocks. There's no other jet. Next one, please. Here's another one. Where's the other jet? Is it going in another dimension? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Next, please. Again, there's one jet coming out of one side of the black hole. Next, please. And then, unfortunately, you don't get good resolution. Next one, please. But we need to look at this. One jet coming out.
Okay, what am I missing here? Because AI thinks they have two jets, but Paul Murad's saying they have one. Is there some context that I'm missing here? I don't understand am I missing context here?
Out of a black hole. Wow. Next, please. All right, let's look at a gravitational law. Apparently, we screwed something up with this, but then that's not too bad. What we end up with is G is equal to G, a perturbation function. And then we account for 1 over R, which is Newtonian. The alpha R is the terms that we got from the pioneer effects. So the perturbation function satisfies the wave equation that we showed before.
So I'm going to try to correct this here because there's a lot of confusion over this. And I'm not really sure the answer. I think the answer is this. Nobody knows. We haven't photographed black holes. The best photographs we have of black holes are like really bad. So I think the answer is nobody really knows. Black holes are a big mystery. And so when you guys are saying, well, I see all these images of black holes, you're seeing artist renditions, artist renderings. Those aren't real black holes that people are taking photos of. So that's probably what I'm guessing is the difference here, is that we just don't know, right? I'll look into this afterwards and try to figure it out. I'm going to try to do a clip on this, I think. It is kind of interesting. He says, where does it lead? To another dimension?
And all the terms are there. And again, like I said, you have a source term, you have a time-dependent current, and then you have the second derivative of f of g of t, yet to be determined. So there are some enigmas here that we still need to discuss. Next, please. All right, what does this all mean? Well, we need to have rotational fields to produce gravity waves. We can do that Newtonian gravitation, as I showed you in this effort. This is similar to some efforts regarding Maxwell's equations with electric and magnetic fields. The Helmholtz equations give us some insights that it tends to amplify sources terms based upon rotation. We identified a new model of Winterberg's gravitational model that accounts for this factor that we see that gravity can turn into a constant, similar to what we see with the Pioneer spacecraft. Next, please. And that these results also satisfy some situations out of Lund. Now, neutron stars are quite complex. They're not perfectly spherical. We have to look at the boundary of the supernova. Next, please. And when we look at black holes.
So here's the conclusions.
Maybe the model here is that we have a neutron star and it's covered by a Faraday cage. And it too is built up with this rotation. And as this rotation continues and continues and continues, the source term explodes, it ejects some mass. And maybe this is Hawking radiation, could be. But the mass comes out of a single jet, at least in the black holes that I've seen. Next, please, which implies that I have.
Okay, so he's definitely saying, Paul Murad is making the claim, the black holes he's seen, there's only one jet. To me, this is big because this is a guy that's like deep on the inside. He might even have footage that we haven't seen. To your guys' point, why is there not going to be two jets? Because there's a white hole on the other side. Why do we not see two visible jets? Because the other jet exists. It's just going through the extra dimension. It's in quantum entanglement. You guys wonder how quantum entanglement works? Black hole, white hole, right? You say, oh, why is there only one jet coming out of here? Well, because the other jet is connected to the other side, just like a vortex. Just like a vortex tube connecting two opposing entrances. Boom. I love this. I'm going all in on this.
A a monopole. Well, Tom recently showed me this figure of a new star where there are swirling jets in the plasma. And it turns out that sooner or later, the jet, with all this spin, will become a planet. In other words, spin is required to start the formation of a planet, and gravity as well. I think it's rather amazing. Next, please. Well, where do we go? As far as I'm concerned, I like the neutron star model, but I'd like to figure out how you can build a black hole by putting a Faraday cage on a neutron star. And that's where I intend to go. Are there any questions?
Yes, lots of questions. I don't know where to start, because your equation derivation would eventually get to answering the time derivative, variable, and give us some understanding of that f of t. That's my first question. So do you have any speculation about what f of t indicates?
Well, all I can tell you is that maybe it's from the ether.
Is it a gravitational wave?
It may be. It may be they can contribute the constituents to end up with gravitational waves. And if that's the case, where's it coming from? The CG, I can argue with, hey, I think I know where that's coming from. But, it falls out of some.
My dude just said that extra term, that time varying term for gravity, comes from the ether. Just said, no uncertain terms, comes from the ether. Maybe it comes from the ether. We don't know. Earlier in this presentation, he says one of the only ways to rectify this is by adding an extra dimension, adding the ether. That's how this has to be done.
The equations, and in the one case that I showed, it doesn't. Then you have to ask what's going on. But the other part of the problem is we don't know that much about gravitational currents. We don't know much about the effects of gravity as a function of time. And we need to know these things. Obviously, if we have a rotating Earth with a core moving around, that has current moving around, that has a source term moving around, the Earth should generate gravitational waves. Okay. Can we do that for a propulsion system? That is the $64,000 question.
Right. But at least you have an equation that indicates there is some wave. It's a wave equation format. That's what you concluded, right?
Yep.
And that's quite exciting. I mean, this is a publishable paper that you just outlined, which is, I hope to see it in a journal soon.
I will send you a copy of the paper so you put it in your next book.
Oh, well, I mean, it belongs to a good journal. I remember Mendel Sachs used to publish in I think it was Speculation.
He's like, oh, you should publish this in a major journal. He's like, well, I'll just send you a copy. You can put it in your book. Like, doesn't this perfectly encapsulate their attitude? Like, they're not trying to publish this. They're not trying to tell people about this. They're like, hey, you can put it in your book. You literally sent me 20 books here. That's how much research he's done. I think these guys just kind of realized the world was never going to figure it out while they were alive, which is probably the saddest part about this to me. Thing that upsets me the most is that these guys all came to the conclusion like, no, I'm going to die before this ever comes out. Sucks, but it is what it is.
It's not a speculation journal, but there was a gravitational journal that he liked and had many of his relativistic general relativity papers in there. But anyways, so you have some research that still can be done on the f of t for term. But the other big question perhaps is, have you been able to relate any of your concluding equational variables to actual data? For example, the constant gravitational force from the Pioneer.
No, I haven't done any of that yet.
Because that would be exciting to have, experimental data confirm what you theoretically predict.
I'm looking at other problems, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Has any of this helped you understand the Searle device, what you call the Morningstar box?
Yes, the Helmholtz equation. I never expected that effect.
What?
And
clarify
what? Dude, what? He gets asked, does this help you understand free energy devices like the Searle magnetic motor? And he goes, yes, this helped me figure, the Helmholtz equation helped me figure this out. Jesus, chat. Oh my God.
It's the Helmholtz equation, because I think
that's where del squared phi is equal to something else that seems to be amplifying itself. Oh. When I spoke to you about the energy box the last time, I mentioned that I put some crystals in there.
Right.
And when I rotate at steady state to warm the whole system, I was used to running it for 4 or 5 minutes before I put the crystal in there. No problem, over the years. And all of a sudden, this thing works for about one or 2 minutes, and it gets locked up, which meant that somehow I was building a charge up on the crystals, and that was affecting the magnetic field within the energy box. And it was building so much mass and so much, not mass, but so much magnetic field, or maybe gravitation for all I know, that it used to work. I had a 1 horsepower motor on there. When we did this earlier, we had a 6 horsepower motor and it worked fine. So there was a constraint. And I think that's because of that Helmholtz equation. The del squared phi is equal to something, and times phi and something else maybe. So maybe that helps. That spin factor in terms of what's going on with the rest of the star systems generating gravity in a low value, that to me, I find kind of intriguing.
So the spin factor can be a contributing factor to this excess gravity that we're seeing. What is he saying there? He's saying that this explains dark matter. He's saying that we don't need dark matter, the extra gravity, to explain why these stars spin around a galaxy so fast when they shouldn't be going that fast or too far away. He's saying that this spin term of the galaxy itself actually adds into it, and we're not counting that in. And if we add this spin term in, suddenly we don't need the dark matter anymore, which is my favorite kind of solutions.
And now the other question is, like I said to you earlier, how do we use this from a propulsion perspective?
Right. And we're looking to you for the answer to that question.
To be determined.
No, come on, you can speculate. It's okay.
To be determined.
Well, if you had unlimited power, for example.
He gets asked literally, how do we use this for propulsion? And he says, to be determined. Who answers like that? Think about this, chat. This man is dead right now. This was 2020. Why would Paul Murad say to be determined? Why wouldn't you just answer the question? Well, number one, classified. Number two, NDAs. Proprietary. Right? That's the reason why he's not answering here. Wild.
Say one of the conversion devices that we're working on in free energy actually gave you, gigawatts or zigawatts or whatever they call it, beyond expectations. That's sufficient amount of energy, maybe according to some of the great gravitational, electromagnetic gravitational journal articles I've seen, including Teller. Edward Teller wrote one, describing electromagnetic
well,
gravity.
I sort of like to favor the Potter model.
Okay, yeah, I like the
with the spinning magnetic fields,
right.
And I'm seeing more and more pictures about these triangle vehicles with 3 spheres or 4 spheres on it, yep. And the spinning effect somehow implies that there's somehow you're generating gravitational effects in one direction.
Dude, what did he just say right there? Why did he talk about spheres and spinning? What the fuck is going on in this chat, dude? Okay, I'm gonna go back like 30 seconds here, guys. Sorry, I got to hear that again.
The Potter model.
Okay, yeah, I like the
with the spinning magnetic fields,
right.
And I'm seeing more and more pictures about these triangle vehicles with 3 spheres or 4 spheres on it, yep. And
bro, what? Bro, do you hear what he's saying? I see more and more of these triangle formations with spheres on them. He's talking about the triangle formations of plasma orbs. Dude, I need a not 8-hour version of this, man. Like, no disrespect to Tom Valone. Like, dude's a genius. But when it comes to technology, like, these people need major help, man. You can't upload 8-hour presentation and you've got people with like, they've never used like audio and video before. Like you're literally telling people the secrets of reality and your production quality is like just terrible, right? Like, please, man, I'll help you out for free. We really got to upgrade this. Okay. I'm going to hear that again.
The Potter model.
Okay, yeah, I like the
with the spinning magnetic fields,
right.
And I'm seeing more and more pictures about these triangle vehicles with 3 spheres or 4 spheres on it, yep. And the spinning effect somehow implies that there's somehow you're generating gravitational effects
in one direction.
Maybe, maybe not.
That's what you're just seeing to see.
If I had my druthers, I'd love to make one of those Potter devices. And in another area, I'm trying to put together a monopole. And
he said, is it a Potter device? I got to look that up later because he's really talking about the orbs. And he says it can produce unidirectional thrust in one direction, which is exactly what they're doing in the plane, right?
we're yet to determine what's going to happen.
And is there stuff that Paul Lander is doing that you kind of scratch your head about?
No one has touched on me about the subject.
Okay, because if there are electromagnetic anomalies out there, even the Manellis device with magnetic ferrites and so forth.
Well, obviously everything depends upon funding.
That's true. Well, there's trillions of dollars out there. The government's arguing 2 trillion or 3 trillion. Oh.
Only if you have an illness, or you can cure the illness.
Oh, this guy is.
That's an interesting comment, and it's hard to hear the audio here, so we'll probably cut that there. But he says that we have trillions of dollars, but only if you have an illness or if you have a cure for an illness. Only if we have a vaccination or only if we have a cure is the only time we're willing to spend trillions of dollars. When it comes to field propulsion technologies, we're not. And this is what I think what he's saying here is that this is the reason why only the CIA has it. It's actually not really been covered up. It's been covered up, but it's not been, they've been allowing it to come out if people could figure it out. They just can't figure it out. The incentives don't exist. People don't invest in it because they don't think it's real, because people are taught free energy is not real. People are taught these things are not possible. People are taught zero point energy can't be tapped into. But then when you go look at the actual government engineers and scientists, the contractors, the military members, they're all saying it's real. It's all possible. It's all doable. They engineered it. They've got dozens of books on how to do it. And we're doing it the hard way. Doing this without any formal support is practically impossible. You have no funding. You can't tell what's real and what's not. That's why it's been so easy to hide. Now, for some of you who say, well, I'm going to go build some of this, I say you should go do that. But keep in mind, it's not going to move the needle. If you think in your head that you're going to make something and you're going to prove to the world that free energy is real, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to shoot that down right now and tell you there's 0% chance that will ever happen. And it's not because you can't build a device. You can. It's because no one's going to care. Literally no one on this earth is going to care. And you say, Ashton, there's no way. If I build a free energy device, everybody's going to care. I literally did it and no one cared. Literally built a free energy device and I couldn't even get one person to review it. Sure, I could get random people that don't matter. Why am I going to show a random person? It makes no difference. So this is your reality. You can build any of this stuff and it literally will not make one bit of difference. People have been building free energy devices for decades. And they're documented in here. And not one of them has moved the needle forward. Because that's not what it's going to take. What it's going to take is the MH370 videos. We have a real operation that they conducted on a real plane using real technology recorded in 2 surveillance systems. That's the proof. It doesn't get better than that. That is the absolute best proof you can possibly get of this cover-up. And that's why that is the only thing I will be pushing until the day I die, or they reveal the truth about that plane and what Edward Lynn leaked to the public. Because like I said before, we don't need any amnesty. We don't need to give anybody any immunity for anything. And we don't need anybody to admit anything because we've already got them dead to rights. And when the MH370 videos are admitted to be real, when they are admitted that that's what we did to that plane, everything else will unravel. The alien question will unravel. How long they've been hiding this technology will unravel. So we don't even have to worry about those questions about are the aliens here? Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're going to find out. We're going to find out right after they tell the truth about their plasma orbs. Okay, guys, let's go to the super chats for tonight. I'm surprised I made it this long through the stream. I've been recovering all day, but I wanted to just give you guys a huge shout out for hanging in there with me tonight. This has been awesome. First, everybody in the pilled chat. Patriot Bronco. He gifted that ship, baby. We're shipping it tonight. Huge super chat with the ship. I think that's a lot. Gold pills are good. I love it, baby. Rumble chat. You guys have been popping up. My Rumble chat has been getting huge out there. I just want to shout out my boy Double M's was always in the chat. I see Pissed Off and TF13 hanging out. And then I got a new boy, Dutch Rumbler. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for being here with me tonight. Appreciate you. You too, Evil Ken. And let's go to our super chats. YouTube, you know I love you the best, YouTube. Charlie Gentry, thanks for being hard on me last stream. I'm meeting with major university about funding our electron screening test for plasma fusion. Love it, dude. Would love to talk to you at some point, but I'll work for it. Much love, Hype Fusion. I tell you what. You talk to your university thing, and I'll get in touch with you. I appreciate all the donos you've been giving me, man. You know, the reality is I'm a busy dude. I got another job that I do on the side, but I am interested in this stuff. So I'm just trying to weed out. You know, I get a lot of requests from people that want to talk to me about all kinds of stuff. But you know what? Talk to that university and send me an email on how it goes. I'm curious to see. I do want to assist anybody who's working on fusion. 6Night9 Night Slayer 9 says, Ashton, if you could assemble your own League of Justice true disclosure heroes to help against the woke disclosure, who would they be? This is what's interesting is we don't really have people on the other side. That's why I basically set the narrative up several years ago that I was going to be adversarial to these people. And now it's just full on war. Because there really has only been one side of the story presented to date. And the people that were presenting the other side are the Tom Valones of the world. The people that have been sitting on all these conferences, learning all this science, but not really getting the information out there because people haven't been tying it to the UFO phenomenon. But if you look at Paul Murad, his name was That UFO Guy. You're like, wait, Paul Murad's email was UFO Guy? So he was all in on the UFO topic. So this is the missing link, I think, is that what we need to do and what I've been trying to do is build a coalition of people who politically are opposed to that worldview. Conservatives, MAGA supporters, people that are more interested in free energy and technology than whether or not there's green aliens, right? That's what we have to do. That's how we fight back against the disclosure people. So for me, honestly, Dan Bongino might be one of our best allies. Why? I don't even know what he thinks about aliens or UFOs at all, but he's been in the FBI and he would probably be in the know as to whether or not there was investigations into MH370, Edward Lynn, and all these other things. We need people like him that are open-minded, logical people that hate other grifter people as well, that can see through this and see through the woke disclosure crap. So in a perfect world, if I saw Dan Bongino railing against these woke disclosure alien people about how this is all some bullshit, that would be, I would literally come. I would literally come, Chad. Charlie Gentry, petition to start your own UFO council. Call it Wizards and Warlocks. Eric Weinstein and Lou Elizondo can be your first two scientific reports. Like I said, my scientific reports would just be like basically Tom Valone stuff. I'd be like, here you go. Here's 0 point energy, guys. Check it out. I thought the exact same thing about McCasland. The closed cycle is missing a part, but knew it was enough. Yeah, you don't need, I mean, that schematic of the ion pumpy thing is not like a full schematic, but it's enough for people to figure out what's going on. And it's definitely enough that you're going to get a call from the government if they figure out that you're the one that leaked that and you have inside information about those schematics. So I'm going to say it again, just to recap. I'm going on the record. My prediction is General McCasland is in prison and that they're going to charge him with something, espionage or I don't know, whatever. And they're afraid that they can't let him out because he'll leak the truth. Could be wrong. I would say my confidence is only about 50%. It's still pretty good considering all the different options. So that's my viewpoint on that. Jaleel Robinson, thank you so much, brother, for that super sticker. And Mick Leonard says, knowledge is power. Ignorance is bliss. I'm going to fill up my bookshelf. Do it, baby. Do it. And also, just as the other thing I love about this is like I would go through this pamphlet, guys, and pick the stuff that you like. The things are relatively cheap. You buy them directly from the publisher, and it supports free energy, supports free energy research, which is my favorite. So I would have bought all this stuff, and I'm probably going to buy more of the stuff that's on there if he hadn't sent them to me. My channel, new audio version of 12th COFE will be posted. So it looks like my channel is trying to get that newer version uploaded. That'll be sweet. Appreciate you, my channel. Charlie Gentry says Lazar doesn't know the center pole because the plasma-based colloidal field to block the gravity wave manipulation from his matter anti-gravity diffusion engine. I think that Bob Lazar just wasn't read in on like how it all works. He's just shown something, and so he was just trying to do his best to figure it out, you know. Pressure from space-time pushing back. Yes. So if there's zero gravity, zero pressure. Okay. EM fields shape gravity. Space is an ocean of anisotropic fluid in a 5D space. Therefore, a black hole is just a vortex so dense that there is no space. That's kind of how I would look at it. Black hole is just a vortex where there is no space there. So you're just seeing a blur. You're seeing a hole, a gap in space-time. Mike M 6044 says, it breaks my mind how casually these three are sitting here having this epic conversation. Like they're casually talking about the game last night. Insane. My mind is blown. That's what I love about listening to engineers in these clips the most, is that when you know what they've been hiding and you listen to the clips, you're like, this is so nuts that they're just talking about this openly. And it gets asked like, oh, how do you do the propulsion? It's like, oh, I can't talk about that right now. Like, holy crap. It reminds me of the conversations with Salvatore Pais, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm excited to talk to him again. I think we're scheduling something for like a week or so. Not going to probably be on my channel, but on a different channel where we're going to be talking. Should be fun. I'll let you know when more info is available for that, guys. And then Mike says, it's a bigger leap to deny MH370, assume all these smart people are full of crap. This is what I'll close it out on. Like I just said, look at it from the bigger picture here. Where do you want to put your money? Where do you want to place your bets? Do you want to place your bets on the guy that thinks that space rocks are alien spacecraft because he doesn't understand physics? Do you want to place your bets on the guy that says, trust me, bro, I've totally seen the documentation that aliens exist? Do you want to trust the people that say aliens are like super profound and Christianity is going to be challenged and all the dumb Christians are going to lose their minds when aliens are revealed? Are those the people that you want to put your chips on? Because I tell you, there's basically no chance those people ever give you any answers that you're looking for. Or do you want to place your bets on 2 military videos of a real operation of a real plane that's still missing right now that shows unequivocally that the United States government, as in human beings, have developed plasma fusion technology and space-time manipulation? That's what I would ask you. You choose where you want to place your bets. Because my perspective at this point has been, if humans don't want this, then I just don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I'm looking around and I'm thinking people actually just want to be psyoped. People are out there going, whoa, good thing Avi Loeb is on the case in UFO. This is going to be great. And I'm going, you're an absolute idiot. There's no chance this is going to ever figure out anything. And you're the donkey with the carrot in front of you, and you're just getting drug along. Like, it's actually just gotten to that point now where I think a lot of people simply don't want the answers or don't deserve the answers. Sad to say. Okay, guys, I love you, MH370X. That's going to be it for tonight. As you can tell, we got a lot more content for next week. And bonus, going to the hospital had a small bonus. I don't have to travel next week. So I will be doing live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. Previously, I was going to have to cancel Monday and Wednesday, maybe Friday as well. But now we're going to be live all next week. Boom. Giving it back to you, chat. Love you, MH370X. Peace out. Talk to you on Monday. Later.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate. Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole exotic matter. Negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plate so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Coulomb forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound. A shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Exploring the cosmos, our future's here.